Hello everybody and welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today it is Saturday. It is the 13th of May 2023. My name is Carey Holzman. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, joining a real computer technician, looking at tech, reviewing tech, showing how to repair, upgrade, and build computers, coming from a professional. Who'd have thought that there were professionals on YouTube? I thought they were all hobbyists and enthusiasts just goofing around. Hey, look, nothing wrong with the hobbyists and enthusiasts. I love them. I make a lot of money. The hobbyists and enthusiasts, they make a lot of money too, but we make our money differently. And I just want you to know that my goal here is to share with you my 30 plus years of experience, and I'm gonna look at things as a trained technician. I'm gonna evaluate things as a trained technician. Not so much measuring benchmarks or trying to overclock all this other nonsense people waste their time and money with. I'm looking at practicality, I'm looking at value, I'm looking at reliability, I'm looking at things that can keep me in business and keep my customers happy. So I am coming here with this channel to share with you a different perspective. And if you don't appreciate that, there's plenty of other channels that don't do that. So many to choose from. Now, I will tell you about the dilemma I was in and what led to this video. A while back, we did the Big Beast build that our good friend Doug Betts over at the Live Windows Training with Doug Betts YouTube channel, also not an enthusiast, but a real working computer technician sharing his experience. The Big Beast build was the most expensive computer I've ever built. And in it, I put in an 8 terabyte drive. I bought the cheapest one I could find, was at that time, which was, I don't know, has it been a year? It was about $1,000 or $1,100, and it was made by Inland. Now, I'm not a fan of the Inland brand. As a professional, my perspective is it reminds me of the stuff you buy at the dollar store. It's just, it doesn't perform very well. They're not like leading the way, and they're all about the price. And that's okay if that's okay with you, but it's just not okay with me. And I decided, you know, since I've been testing a lot of the mini PCs lately, that I wanted to see a lot of these mini PCs, the manufacturers are saying it's got a maximum 2 terabyte NVMe storage. I don't think that's true. It used to be true. And I think the manufacturers are just copying and pasting from previous models. So I got a 4 terabyte drive because those are really inexpensive compared to what they used to be. And for the purpose of just putting it into these mini PCs that I review and see if what it's going to do. Is it going to see the drive at all? Is it only going to see 2 terabytes? And lo and behold, almost every time on a modern mini PC that's at least mid-range and above that says it has a 2 terabyte NVMe limit, it sees 4 terabytes no problem. And of course, I do my due diligence and I write to the company and I say, hey, I just want you to know, you might sell more units if you be more accurate in the product's abilities of upgradability, you know, the product's upgrade options or product's limitations. You've artificially put a false limitation. You falsely or lazily put in a limitation that's not true on this model you're selling, and maybe you'd sell more. Now, I don't see any hobbyists or enthusiasts doing what I'm doing. And again, there's nothing wrong with hobbyists or enthusiasts. That's great. I love them. I watch them myself. But I don't want to do what they're doing. That's all I'm trying to tell you, right? I'm trying to come at it from a professional approach. And I want to help these companies. If I see something that can be helpful as a computer technician, I want to share that. Now, what they do with it, I can't control. So I decided, you know, look, if it's going to see the 4 terabyte, will it see an 8 terabyte, right? That's the next logical step. But the only 8 terabyte I ever had, 8 terabyte NVMe drive, was put into the Big Beast build, and then that was sold to Doug Betts over at Live Windows Training, and he uses that for his live streams. You'll see it in the background of his videos. We built that here in a series of about 10 videos. It's basically 2 computers built into one case. This thing is massive and it's heavy and it's over the top, and I'll never do it again. But it was an experience. And I thought, you know, it's been a few months, maybe 8 terabyte NVMe prices have gone down. So I went on Amazon and I started, you know, I typed in 8 terabyte NVMe drive, and if anything, they've gone up in price, right? So I'm looking, and I see now Mushkin has a drive that wasn't available before, and it's about $1,000. And then I see this company called Oyen Digital. Let me show you the Amazon page. Let me put it up on the screen here. Yeah, I come across this right here, which is Oyen Digital 8 terabyte NVMe for $809, free delivery. And I'm like, who the heck is Oyen Digital? I've never, ever heard of this company. Where did they come from? How long have they been around? Are they trustworthy? And I'm looking at the details. It's TLC, which is to keep things less technical for the everyday consumer. That's the good. There's 4 different types of memory chips that can be used, or NAND chips that can be used on a solid state drive. QLC, MLC, SLC, and TLC. With QLC being the budget and slowest and has the lowest terabyte write capacity, the TLC being the fastest and having the longest life. Okay, so maybe it's slow. Well, it's Gen 4, which typically is about 71, 7200 on the RAID sequential. We're right at 7100. What about the writes? Maybe the writes are super slow, 3000 or something. No, 6500 on the writes. I mean, this is keeping up with the big boys that charge way more money. Well, maybe it doesn't have much of a warranty. Some NVMe drives have a 5-year warranty. This one only has a 3-year warranty. Okay, well, there's one explanation for why it's cheaper, but still, I've never seen a failed NVMe drive in my life, so I'm not too worried about the warranty. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, who is Oyen Digital? There's no reviews on Amazon, and trust me, I'm going to change that. Are they using some no-name brand Chinese, controller module that's super cheap? No, they're using a Phison PS5018 E18, which is what the big boys are using. So are they a big boy and I just never heard of them? So I go over to oyendigital.com to see if they even have a website. Well, not only do they have a website, they got a bunch of products. Okay, well, maybe it would have been cheaper if I bought the NVMe drive directly from them. Oh, it doesn't exist. It's not here. Okay. What do they sell? They sell storage, portable storage, rugged portable storage, multi-base storage, little carrying cases for your storage, storage for the serious gamer. That's kind of weird. And then desktop storage. Oh, well, an NVMe would be desktop storage. Maybe it's in there. Then again, maybe it's not. I'm not sure what's going on. This is external storage. How is this desktop storage? What? It says it's enterprise hard drives. What makes those enterprise? I have no idea. Dual port USB-C. Is that what it's making? Novus external. Are they just super high capacities, like beyond 10 terabytes? Not super high capacity. I can get a 22 terabyte external drive on Amazon. I don't know. Maybe I need to bring them on and interview them, but they've been around. Are they some Chinese company? That looks like America. Oyen Digital is an innovative developer and manufacturer specializing in storage for videographers, independent filmmakers, professional photographers, and many other industries. Oh, so if you're into photography, you're probably going, Carey, you moron, this company is very well known. I don't know. I'm not, I enjoy photography, but I don't know. I'm not into it that much. We're dedicated in developing groundbreaking products using our extensive knowledge and experience in audio-video production and mass storage. Founded in 2005, wow, that's 18 years ago. Headquartered in Oakdale, Minnesota, we've established a reputation for high-quality products and exceptional customer service. We seek to create affordable, high-quality products and maximize the highest quality per dollar ratio in the industry. Well, that certainly holds true in this case. Our commitment to clear communication benefits our customers by ensuring that our customers' needs are met and exceeded at every level of the value chain, including product information, delivery, and service. Well, I mean, all that sounds good, right? They're saying all the right things. And apparently they've been around for a while, and I've been living under my rock. I guess that's what's going on here. I don't know. I haven't seen any hobbyists or enthusiasts review this. So, I mean, it's not just me, right? These people that are just spending money hand over fist, putting things together that are impractical and in strictly hobbyist enthusiast activities, I would think would be on top of this long before me. I mean, it's been around 18 years. I don't know how long that 8 terabyte drive's been available, but nonetheless, I clicked add to cart, all right? And I figured, hey, you know, it's crap. I can send it back to Amazon within 30 days. I don't want an 8 terabyte NVMe for my personal rig. It's impractical. And it would be difficult to back up. And if the drive died, if I didn't back it up, I'd lose up to 8 terabytes of my stuff. So I don't like putting all my eggs in one basket. But as these mini PCs continue to get more and more popular, I want to know, when they say they have this 2 terabyte storage limit, and I put a 4 terabyte drive in and it sees it just fine with no problems, I want to know, will it see an 8 terabyte drive? So I wanted to own one because I'm making these videos and I want to do something no other hobbyist is doing here on YouTube. And that is testing if what the manufacturers are saying with regards to the limitations of their machines is actually true. It was true at one time, but it looks like they're not updating their information. And this is to help everybody. This is to help the manufacturer. This is to help the consumer. I'm not here saying I told you so, right? I'm just trying to figure out what the truth is. Now, I order this thing and it says it's going to arrive, and it did arrive. I got it, in fact, yesterday. And you know, I'm used to, when you're buying something that's like $1,000, some electronic gadget like a cell phone, they make a big deal out of the unboxing experience. And, you know, I'm a real practical guy, and I mentioned, you know, how much are we wasting on this unboxing, all the materials that are just going into the landfill, so that the box opens so slowly and it reveals the product and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And in the meantime, you know, they're not including a cell phone charger on your $1,200 phone. You're on your own to buy an $8 charger. But I've just grown to expect it. I'm like, all right, let's, you know, I bought something that's like $1,000 or more that's electronic. It's going to come in some fancy box. So imagine my surprise when what arrived at my door was a little teeny tiny box, super tiny little cardboard shipping box. And I knew what was in it because I wasn't expecting anything else to be delivered that day. And I opened up that little tiny cardboard box, and inside was this. Now, I wish you could have seen the look on my face. Let me bring this a little closer, because I wish I could see the look on your face. This is packaged like something, some impulse item at the checkout aisle at the CVS. Like, this doesn't inspire my confidence. But then I took a minute and realized, why would you need anything more than this? You know what I mean? Like, just kind of been conditioned to expect the cheap stuff to be clamshelled and have a little peg hanger, and that's where the cheap stuff goes. It goes on the peg hanger and it's by the checkout aisle. It's those impulse items. At $809, about $875 after sales tax in Phoenix, this feels a little underwhelming in the packaging department, but the packaging is all ending up in the landfill anyway. So upon reconsidering, I respect Oyen Digital for doing this, right? Don't waste money on the packaging. Maybe the reason why they can charge less for this drive compared to the competitors is they're not spending $30 or $40 on the packaging. Maybe 30 or 40 cents. And you know what? I'm okay with that. As you can imagine, as a computer technician, when I'm buying parts, I'm typically not just buying one. I have to buy parts for my customers. And I have customers that order stuff all the time. So I'm going through a much bigger scale than probably any of you watching, probably. And the garbage of that scale is sometimes overwhelming, where I have to break it apart because I fill up my trash bin and I have to wait until the trash bin's been emptied and find a storage place for the rest of the trash for the next week's trash bin, you know, for when it gets emptied and I can start to refill it again. That has happened where I've had to wait 3, 4, 5, even 6 weeks to get rid of all of the garbage from all of the overkill packing material in many cases, right? Because when I'm building computers, the customer doesn't want the case box, the motherboard box, the drive box. They don't want the RAM box. They don't want the power supply box. All those boxes for one computer build can take up, just one, could take up half of the space in my garbage container. So it doesn't take many to fill it. And I imagine I could order 1,000 of these and it still wouldn't fill up my garbage bin with waste. So good. So far, so good. What I've got sitting here is just a system I built. It's an 11900K on a Gigabyte B560M Aorus Pro AX motherboard. And I did this on camera a while back, and you know, if you look at my library, you can go back and find it. But right now, it's got a Samsung 970 EVO in it. That's only a Gen 3 drive, and this board will accept Gen 4. And I thought, since this board is just laying around, and it is Gen 4, and this NVMe drive is also Gen 4, let's see if it performs as advertised. And is it going to need a heat sink? I mean, I don't know. Let's find out together. All my videos are live and unscripted. They're unrehearsed. So everything is real. Nothing is manipulated in order to make something look better or make something look worse. It will look like it looks, including myself. If I make a mistake, it's in the video. I can't do anything about it. And it's just like real life. So yes, these videos can go on much longer than your average hobbyist or enthusiast video that just has fun, and or they're getting paid by a manufacturer to make a big commercial for them that looks like a review. That's one way to make a living. It's not what, I don't want to do that. So you know there's no little editing tricks here. There's no opportunity to shut the camera off, address an issue, fix it, and then come back and then pretend like it never happened. Everything is live in order to keep it genuine and authentic, and that's why I encourage you to interact with me in the live chat room, because that's also evidence that this isn't pre-recorded, or I wouldn't be able to address the questions in the chat room. How could I know what somebody's name is and what question they're asking, and then pre-record that and air it for a later time? That doesn't make any sense. So as we get more into like AI and false information and all the stuff that's going on with the internet, I'm thinking of ways that I can make content that is unquestionably real. Now, how accurate it is kind of depends on me and my understanding, and you might witness me learning. Oh my gosh, somebody filming themselves learning. Who does that? Learning is wonderful, and I love every opportunity I can get. And so if I make mistakes, yeah, what, you don't? The difference between you and me is I air them in front of a worldwide audience, all right? So that either makes me profoundly stupid or brave, or maybe both. But I don't care. My ego's not that fragile. If people see that as a flaw, see you later. You know, doesn't bother me none. I just want to provide a video, a type of content that I myself would want to watch. And if I can find other people in the world that enjoy it and get what I'm doing, oh man, you guys are the best. And for the people who don't get what I'm doing, don't care. Now, this is all taped up. I've never opened this. I've never used it before. I've never heard of Oyen Digital. And more importantly, Oyen Digital has never heard of me. You know, we're living in a world now that's so segmented that there can be super famous people that you've never heard of that I've never heard of. Like all of you watching this video know who I am, but when I walk outside and go to the grocery store, nobody knows who I am. So I have my own little, tiny little fan base on the internet that makes me, what do we want to call it? It's not famous, it's fame-ish, right? Never get recognized anywhere I go. Just doesn't happen. I'm not that popular. So of course Oyen isn't gonna know who I am. And I don't know who they are, I guess, because I'm not into the hobbyist enthusiast photography or let me rephrase, I'm not into photography, whether it's hobbyist, enthusiasts, or professionals. I keep harping on the hobbyists and enthusiasts, and I know many of you hear that in a negative way, but it's just that that YouTube is so permeated with content from hobbyists and enthusiasts, but very little from actual professionals. It's totally off balance. I'd love to see more professionals in every industry where there are hobbyists and enthusiasts making content. I want to see the professionals make the content. Me personally, I want to hear from a professional, someone who's paid, somebody who has to do the job, somebody who holds liability to the customers that pay them. They hold responsibility and accountability to their customers' equipment and their customers' expenses. Hobbyists don't have any of those consequences. So it's fun, it's enjoyable to be a hobbyist, and I am absolutely not putting them down. All I'm saying is, I wish there were more professionals to counterbalance and level out the content here on YouTube. So I'm doing my part. And maybe it is the professionals that are buying these in the photography business. I don't know, because that's not in my wheelhouse. That's a different segment, right? So people into photography they're going to be knowing about all this photography stuff. Lens manufacturers and camera manufacturers I've probably never heard of. And given that Oyen Digital, I guess, has been around since 2005, you know what? I've been making YouTube videos since 2008. We never heard of each other, okay? I'm assuming we never heard of each other. All right, so should we open it up and try it out? What's going on in the chat room? Hello to my friends in blue. Camera Girl's not here today, but Camera Girl did make that amazing thumbnail for the video, even that moving one that I used as the intro. And she did that like 2 hours before we went live. She's that good. She just cranks it out at that quality. Let's see. Shabim says, I think the most important thing is the performance. I agree with the packaging policy. The packaging goes into the garbage anyway. Yeah. John Famlor says, hello, Carey and all. There is a web page on Oyen Digital's site for an 8 terabyte NVMe, but perhaps it isn't linked because it's currently out of stock. Did I just buy the one they had? They appear to be in stock at Amazon. And who knows, maybe if it's great, maybe I can afford to buy one for my personal rig, but I really don't want to. I really don't, because that's a lot of data to potentially lose. It's a lot of data to have to back up. Now, if you're into photography or cinematography, those files can be massive. And I'll tell you what, I know let me rephrase, of the few professional photographers I know, I've noticed a lot of them prefer to use smaller memory cards. And the reason they do that is apparently they've been burned by having a memory card fail on them, and they lose everything on the memory card. So what they'll do is they'll use smaller, like 32 gig instead of 128 gig SD cards, and then put that in their camera. And I'm talking still photography here. And what they'll do is they'll have like 10 of them or 20 of them, because they're so tiny and light. They keep them in the camera bag. And then when that fills up, they just swap it out. And then if any one of those memory cards dies, they've only lost that little piece. They haven't lost everything from the photo shoot. And same holds true with the video cameras, but of course capacities are different. Now the video cameras I use, they have a RAID 1 configuration that can be turned on, where you put 2 memory cards in of identical capacity, and as the video camera records, it records to both memory cards. One is a backup to the other one in case of a failure. But as you can imagine, if you're recording in 4K, you need massive memory cards that are fast. Well, I'm shooting everything live, so it doesn't matter to me, right? But it's just kind of interesting. Now, when I open up the package right here, let's take a close-up look at what this looks like. I'm gonna bring it up to the camera so you guys can see it nice and clear. There's our lid, which pretty much says everything the website says, but pay attention to the lifespan. Terabytes written, 6,000. Holy cow. 6,000 terabytes can be written to this before the cells will wear out. That's what they're telling you. Can you see 6,000 terabytes in your head? I want you to visualize that number. Do you know what that looks like? Do you know how many zeros that is? Do you have any real concept how much 6,000 terabytes is? Do you know what the drive that you have now, the one you have, do you know, assuming it's a solid state drive, what is its lifespan according to the manufacturer? It's called TBW, terabytes written. Look it up. Look up, oh, there goes the cardboard. Look up the terabytes written on the SSD you have in your system right now and tell me in the chat room what the manufacturer says the lifespan of the write cells are. Where did that cardboard fall? See, it's live. All right, here's the little cardboard. This is your documentation. This is all you get. That's it, man. That's all you're getting for your nearly $900. But that's okay. That's okay, because you know what I would have done with the documentation? I would have thrown it at you. Now, let's take a look at what our NVMe drive looks like. I've removed it. I'm going to walk back up to the camera because Camera Girl's not here to bring the close-ups with us today. So I'm going to have to, use my feet. So there's the face of the unit. And if we flip it around the other side, you'd think this thing would be filled with chips, but yeah, it looks like there's room for more chips on there. Bring on the 16 terabyte. All right. All right? All right. Okay. Let me take a look at the chat, see if anybody's reported what their terabytes written is on their solid state drive. The Cool 2T in the chat says mine is 3,400 terabytes written. This is almost twice that. Corey in the chat says mine taps out at 1,200 terabytes written for the Samsung 980 Pro and 2,400 for the Samsung 860 Eco. Hey, you know what? Thanks for playing. Patrick Manny with 300 terabytes. Shortcuts Lab at 3,000. Okay, so it looks like Shortcuts Lab at 3,000 has, the Cool T said some of his are 3,400. And 3,400, last I checked, is slightly less than half of 6,000. So that's, look, if this thing is fast and this thing is reliable and it's got a 6,000 TBW on it, how come we're not talking about this? There's nothing like this at this price point that has that performance and that capacity. There's nothing close. The closest you're going to get, you know what, let's go back over to Amazon real quick. I want to show you. I don't want you to take my word for nothing. In fact, you can go to Amazon and you can follow along with me just in case you think I'm manipulating anything, because, we live in a world of skeptics and people that live off their imagination in their bubbles. So let's try and encourage people who don't trust anything to look it up themselves. So let's go back over to my window capture here. All right, and let me go back over to Amazon. Let me show you something. I'm going to scroll up here, and I'm just going to I'm going to get rid of Oyen Digital. I'm going to get rid of that. And follow along if you want to. Load up if you're in the USA. I can't speak for what prices are in other countries. We're just going to search for an 8 terabyte NVMe, and let's see what our choices are, because there aren't many. Sabrett's 8 terabyte is $1,099. Now that used to be $1,299. It's come down, and it's looking at 7,100 on the writes, 6,600. 7,100 on the reads, 66 on the writes. That's a little tiny bit faster, like maybe half a millisecond in reality. And what's the warranty on it? I'm curious. Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? And what's our TBW on this? I'd be kind of curious about that as well. I'm not seeing any of that. But we do have reviews on it because Sabrett's offered that. They're a better known brand in this part of the industry. So, but that is about $300 more than what we paid. Now, Inland, I talked about Inland. To me, they're the Dollar General of solid state drives and flash drives. So, you know, their performance isn't going to be leading. They're still $90 more. And let's see what kind of performance we have. It does also have the same 6,000 TBW endurance. These are all going to be Gen 4, by the way. I don't think they make a Gen 3 version of an 8 terabyte drive. And warranty, does it say what the warranty is anywhere? It's also TLC, so this isn't, so it's very equivalent. They're very, very similar, except it's $90 more. So with sales tax here in Phoenix, that's going to put me close to $1,000 for essentially the exact same thing. All right? So even though I sort of tease Inland, the drive we used in the Big Beast build was one of these Inland 8 terabyte drives. And you can talk to Doug Betts about it over at the Live Windows Training with Doug Betts YouTube channel. As far as I know, he's never had any problems with it. And that was done because at the time it was the cheapest drive I could buy. Now Sabre also has another 8 terabyte drive, right? That's different from this one, or is it? No, that's a sponsored one, so that's the same drive. Corsair's got their MP600. And again, all the numbers are going to follow the same numbers, except they're going to include a heatsink on it, and they want $240 more for theirs. $240 will buy me a 4 terabyte Team Group NVMe and still leave me money to go have a nice dinner. So again, what? And we're seeing the same sequential reads and writes and same TLC. So it's going to have the same 6,000 TBW probably. There's our Oyen Digital. Let's keep going. Now be careful when you're looking through the search results because Amazon's going to throw up other size drives, like that's a 4 terabyte. Here's an OWC Excelsior 8 M.2. But that's an add-in card. That's a whole different beast. That's 1,800, well, 1,750. There should be some more in here. No, that's 4 terabyte. Crucial P3 4 terabyte for $200. Team Group 4 terabyte for $200. Speeds are about half. TBW is going to be about half. Here we go. Here's the Mushkin Gamma. This is the closest I could find. And this was not offered back in a few months ago when I did the Big Beast build. So the Mushkin Gamma Gen 4. I'm very familiar with Mushkin. And we're going to see, we're going to get about all the same numbers. Almost every one of these all say the same thing. What's changing is maybe whether it has a heat sink, but that must be a heck of a heat sink for $200 more. This one's $180 more than Oyen Digital's. $180. We're not talking about $10 here or there. That's a pretty significant price difference, but this does have a 5-year warranty instead of a 3-year warranty. But again, I've never seen an NVMe drive die, so what difference does it make if it's a 20-year warranty? If you don't need the warranty, it could be a 30-day warranty. Nonetheless, it's a pretty big investment, and to have peace of mind for the 5-year warranty, you know, might justify paying $180.99 more. I don't know. I guess that's up to you to decide. It says they have 5 left in stock. On the Oyen Digital, you said that the website said it was sold out. Are they sold out here? No, it doesn't. It says it's in stock here. So there you go. And no reviews on this at all. So we're going to pave the way. All right. So let me go back over to camera 1. There I am. And let me see what you're saying in the chat. Edward Kenny says he has a 500 gig. That's 1/16 the size of this. Samsung drive that is a 3-year warranty or 200 terabytes written. That's only 5,800 terabytes written, less than this. Paul Newman saying good morning. Hey, welcome in, Paul. I want to remind you that when a drive reaches its maximum terabytes written and the cells are no longer able to be written to, they've worn out, the drive goes into read-only mode. So it's not like your drive fails, you just can't write any more to it. It becomes read-only. So don't freak out. And I've heard of people on the internet that have hit their terabytes written limit, but I've never met a customer and I've never met anyone in real life that can actually show me one. So everybody's worried about all these theoretical things that they're not likely ever going to experience. There's a lot of other reasons your drive will fail, and terabytes written is not one of them. It doesn't cause drive failure. It just locks, it write locks the drive. It's like write protecting. Remember write protecting on cassette tapes and VHS tapes? The drive becomes write protected. I guess that's the best way I could explain it. All right. Any others? Just scrolling through the chat here. David's in the chat says it shows Amazon only has 2 left in stock. Yeah, well, they're still in stock. So I don't know why Oyen Digital says they're not on their website, but maybe it's 2 different warehouses. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull the, I've got a Samsung 970 Pro in here, and you see this motherboard comes with a heatsink anyway, which I would not be able to use if our 8 terabyte drive had a heatsink, and I'd much prefer to use the motherboard's heatsink since aesthetically it matches everything on the board. So I'm going to grab my screwdriver. We're going to do everything live. You're going to see there's no manipulation at all happening here. Everything is real. That is so important to me. If you haven't figured that out by now, I hate being lied to. I hate being misled, and I hate being deceived because it makes me feel like an idiot that I fell for it. So if I show everything live and I interact live with the chat, it should establish confidence that you are in fact seeing something real. I have no control of the outcome. If this is a dead on arrival unit, we're going to find out together, just like in real life. What a concept. What sort of a genius came up with this idea to just do things live? What sort of madman are you? I know, right? All right, let me try and get this. There we go. So my drive is stuck to the thermal tape. That's pretty common. You just want to be careful. Don't try and pull. Anytime you're working with electronics that deals thermal paste or thermal material, instead of pulling it away, you want to slide it. Oh, it's like a suction cup. If you have a suction cup, like stuck to a window, and you try and pull that suction cup off the window, it's resist it, and then it pops. Well, the popping, in this case, could be pulling the chips, the surface-mounted chips off the circuit board. So instead, we would take that suction cup and slide it to the edge of the window, and it just comes right off without any effort. And much the same way, I'm going to slide the NV drive. We're going to slide it away from the thermal tape, and look, no damage to either the thermal tape or the drive. Flip that upside down. 8 terabytes, ladies and gentlemen, in the size of a stick of Wrigley's gum. Yeah, this is more crunchy. All right, I'm going to put this right over here. Uncle Carey, he's getting old and needs his glasses. And maybe a little senile. I don't think they make glasses for that. But if you know of any, put a link in the chat for me. All right, now I'm going to put the heatsink back down. And what I like about this particular motherboard is the heatsink only has 1 screw. A lot of times with some boards, the heatsink that goes to the board has a screw, and then the drive has a screw, and they're tiny, tiny little screws. And you can see I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the angle because our giant the Mugen 5 cooler here sort of overlaps this area where the NVMe drive goes, and I don't want to cross thread the screw. So I'm going to just kind of be very careful, feel for the mounting point for the screw, and I've secured it. All right, so we're done with these tools, and for now I'm going to put that NVMe over there. So 8 terabytes is installed. That's how hard that was. Now, of course, to get this motherboard power, I need a power supply. I need a keyboard and a mouse, which I just happen to have right here, so we'll get that out of the way. This little dongle right here is just one dongle for both keyboard and mouse, and the keyboard and mouse are rechargeable batteries that you cannot replace. It's all just plug into USB, charge it up, and they last about, for me, 3 to 5 months on a charge. And everything you see on my channel, whether it's this motherboard, heatsink, that NVMe drive, this keyboard, this tablet, this is all stuff I purchased from Amazon. No, I don't work for Amazon. I really like Amazon. I'm an Amazon evangelist, I suppose. I wish they paid me for that. But if you look in the video description below this video, the first links you're going to see are to Oyen Digital and to the Amazon page where you can buy it. As well as you scroll down, you're going to see offers for Windows licenses and Office licenses that are guaranteed. All of my sponsors, which I don't have many of, absolutely have a money-back guarantee or a free trial so that you're not getting swindled. You have peace of mind. And if you keep looking through that list, you'll see my Twitter page if you want to follow me on Twitter, my Facebook page. Actually, I might have taken the Facebook out of it, but you can find me on Facebook and friend me if you want. And then there's also my Amazon store link that has over 150 items of different tools and equipment and parts that I use. So if you ever see anything on my videos and you're wondering where did he get it, check the video description, look at the Amazon store. There are some exceptions, but 95% of all of it is all purchased and acquired from Amazon. If you do make a purchase from Amazon, I am required to tell you, and I would tell you anyway because I'm not about deception, I make a small commission if you use my Amazon link to make any Amazon purchase at all. So if you click on the link for this 8 terabyte drive, it takes you to Amazon. And you're like, oh, that's interesting, but while I'm in Amazon, I need to pick up more toilet paper. Because that browser visit that took you to Amazon initiated with my link, anything you purchase, I make a very teeny tiny little commission from. It doesn't change your price. I don't know who you are or where you are. So it's all totally private. And it's a nice anonymous way to support the channel for stuff you were going to buy anyway. So that's how that works. Everybody wins. Power supply, right? That's what I was doing before I went off on my little squirrel moment. Power supply here. I only need power to the motherboard, so I got to rotate this around so I don't strangle myself with cables. Here's our big 24-pin motherboard power cable. I'll get that monster out of the way. And then here's our 8-pin EPS power cable for CPU power right there. I also need to hook up an HDMI cable, so I'm going to step around, find an HDMI cable coming out of my video capture card, which I have here on the floor with the rest of my cables. We're using onboard video on this Intel 11900K processor. Keep it simple, keep it reliable, keep it quick. Now, I think I've already, just before the broadcast, I hooked up a little power switch. Once I give this power, we should be ready to fire this up. Now, here's the thing. This is a brand new NVMe drive. Therefore, it has no format, no partition, and no operating system. So there won't be anything for the computer to boot to. Oh, I don't want Ethernet. I want power. Power. You should see this nest of cables I have on the floor. Better, actually, you probably shouldn't. It might worry you about my mental state. You might be worried about that already. All right, don't worry. Be happy. Here we go. Power. There's a switch on. Switch is on. I'm going to take camera 1, which is the camera, this camera right here. I'm going to put it up in this corner. I'm just going to grab this here in OBS. We're going to do this live, so you're going to watch it actually happening, like so. And then I'm going to turn on the input on OBS for the, it's input number 4 on my capture card here in the streaming. This is the computer that's making this video possible. That's all lit up with all the nonsense RGB. Okay, and now I'm gonna hit the power button. I guess there's not gonna be much for you to see if I have this turned like this, but there's really no way for me to show you the fan spinning without winding myself around in cables. So I'm just gonna turn this on, and it should come up and say, you know, I got nothing to boot to, right? So over here, I've got a bunch of flash drives that have Windows 10 and Windows 11. I got videos that show you how to make these free and legal. It's just the license you have to pay for. But the software is completely free, and you absolutely want to make sure you're getting your software from legit sources, okay? So when I show you how to make a Windows 10 or a Windows 11 installation media, your source for downloading the media is Microsoft, and Microsoft allows that without any payment or identification. It's free for everybody because they want you to try it. And if you want to get rid of the watermark that says, you know, you need to activate Windows, then you can just buy one of the product keys from my sponsor here, VIP CDK Deals, and you can save about 95% of the retail cost. Can you imagine only paying 5% of what Microsoft charges? And it's guaranteed to work. So, all right, so this, so far, we know the motherboard works. I'm gonna turn it back off, and I'm gonna step around and I'm gonna plug this flash drive in that has Windows 10 on it. I could do 10 or 11. I personally prefer 10. Maybe someday Microsoft will make Windows 11 more compelling. But right now, you know, Windows 10 is good until October, mid-October of 2025. So we've got over 2 years, 2.5 years of Windows 10 still ahead of us. So I don't see any benefit to going to Windows 11. That's just my personal professional opinion. And I don't have any business clients running Windows 11. So I'm under no obligation to have to suffer with it. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back on, and that flash drive should be the only bootable thing that this motherboard can boot to, and the BIOS will say, you know, have a boot order, and it'll find eventually that there's one bootable thing, and it'll boot to it. At least that's what it's supposed to do. I wanna remind you these videos are live, and we'll see if it's gonna do what it's supposed to do. Yeah, I see the toilet bowl spinning, so that's what I think of when I see that. I just think of a toilet bowl. Great, now I've planted that image in your head. Good luck getting that out next time you see that. We're gonna go through the standard installation routine that I always do. All right, so if you're new here, get used to seeing this. I'm gonna click everything in the same order, in the same way that I always do. And in fact, just to give you a full screen view, I'm gonna turn camera 1 off because I don't think you need to look at my mug. Pay attention to the screen and watch the order of events and what I click on. I always do it the same, always, whether it's 10 or 11. I'll click next, I click install now. Many of you who have been watching this channel for a while already can tell you what I'm gonna do next. I click down here, I do not have a product key. That's putting us into the trial mode for Microsoft. Right there, don't have a product key. And when I buy a product key, I'm gonna be buying the Windows 10 Pro product key. If I select a different operating system than what product key I'm buying for, then the product key won't work. So I already know I'm gonna be buying a Windows 10 Pro product key. I already know I'm gonna buy it from VIP CDK Deals for $15.90 instead of $199.99 from Microsoft. And then I'm gonna hit next. I have to accept the end user's license agreement, which everybody reads and understands every word of the legalese that isn't necessarily legally enforceable, but nonetheless, you don't have a choice. Hit next. I always, always, always choose custom install. Now look at what it sees. Drive 0 is unallocated, meaning there's no partition assigned. It's never been used before. It's at 7452 gigabytes, which is 8 terabytes, right? And then I'm just gonna hit next. And that's it, it's all hands off. Right now, Windows 10 installation is going to partition. There's gonna be 4 partitions that it makes with a UEFI BIOS. It's gonna copy over the files it needs. Let me rephrase. It does the 4 partitions, it formats those 4 partitions, and it copies the files it needs. so that when it reboots, it can then begin the installation process. So this isn't actually the installation process. This is what's needed to start the installation. The installation really begins on our first reboot, where we no longer need the flash drive plugged in anymore. But I usually leave it plugged in because I don't care, all right? Just to put it frankly. And let's see this Windows 10 install. Remember back in the day, if you've been using computers for a while, how long it took to install your operating system from floppy disks? Insert disk 1, insert disk 2, insert disk 1379. We're all ready for our first boot. It's all hands off. I'm not touching nothing. Just let the computer do its thing. Now when it reboots, it's going to see what bootable options it has, with a priority of in the NVMe drive being first and the USB drive being not first, okay? So now it should automatically boot from our NVMe drive instead of our solid state drive. If it boots from the solid state drive, it's going to start the whole installation process right back again and ask us to answer the same questions we've already asked. Clearly it hasn't done that. So even though this is live and I have no control of what's happening here, being a computer technician and doing this for 18 million times, which might be a slight exaggeration, I kind of know what to expect, all right? So hopefully it performs as expected and everything works as expected, and if it doesn't, I know how to fix it. So we're all good either way. All right, so you see the no signal. That means the computer's resetting. That means the video card isn't sending a signal to the monitor when it does that, or in this case to the capture card. We're full screen here, so if you go full screen, it's gonna look like your computer is booting. In fact, I'm the only guy in the world that I know of that has his computer hooked up to 300 external monitors live around the world. I'm essentially using your monitor. How do you like that? Thanks for letting me borrow your monitor. I've got 4 monitors attached to my computer. Well, I've got 300. How you like me now? Now, this is the final questions of the Windows 10 setup, which would also be the same in Windows 11, except they made it a different color, so it's like Superman putting glasses on. You don't recognize them. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yes, we're in the United States. Yes, we're in the United States. No, I do not want another keyboard layout. No, I do not want to connect to the internet. No, I don't want to connect to the internet. You got to tell Microsoft twice. I want to create my local account. We're going to call this user. Enter for the password. I don't want any password. I want it to boot straight to the desktop. I turn all of this data collection off, except for location settings, because that'll always keep my date and time accurate. And if I want to search for something near me on Google, I don't have to tell Google where I am. That Cortana, no, I don't want Cortana. And now it's at the final stages. We've just completely installed Windows 10 on a brand new solid state drive. How many minutes did that take? I mean, it's incredibly fast, no big deal, barely an inconvenience. When this is done, we can go to Windows Update and grab updates. I can also copy Crystal Disk Info. We can measure the test of the performance of the drive to see if it aligns with what the manufacturer says. We can verify the drive's capacity once we're in Windows. What else would you like me to check? All right, just tell me. And if I have the ability, I will honor your request. We are live, so I don't know what you guys are going to ask. I'm just kind of scrolling through the chat right now as we wait for our Windows 10 install to complete. There we go. And let's see, we'll just hit get started to get this out of the way, because it's just going to keep annoying me, and I'm going to say don't show this in the future and hit cancel. Click complete setup, continue without signing in. We're not hooked up to the internet because I did not plug in the Ethernet cable. And this little news icon down here drives me crazy, so I right-click on the taskbar, go to News and Interests, and uncheck it. Turn it off. Some items you check or uncheck to turn on or turn off. And in that case, I also don't like notifications. I'll double click on that because I don't want to see it. And I'm going to hit manage, and I'm going to turn that off. These are just preferences I have, okay? I don't want it in my face. Now I'm going to, let's see, let's go back to camera 1. I'm still here. I want to step around and plug the Ethernet cable into it. And while I'm back here, I'll go ahead and take the flash drive out, plug in Ethernet. And let's just grab some Windows 10 updates that might have an impact on performance. I don't know. And we'll also check out the device manager and make sure that all of our drivers are installed. Newer hardware may not be detected by your Windows installer. So if you're running the latest and greatest hardware, do expect you're going to have to put some drivers on like we used to have to do all the time without a choice. We've gotten spoiled that a lot of hardware can be auto-detected by the Windows installer or by Windows Update, and they'll load the drivers. But if you're getting bleeding edge stuff, then the drivers are not available yet through Microsoft, and you'll have to go to the manufacturer of your motherboard, in this case, to download the drivers. So anyway, I have to go full screen so I can see again. And do we want this to be seen? No. Click there, and we'll go down here to Windows Update and Security, and we'll check for updates and get rid of this nonsense. All right. And we've got some updates happening here, which hopefully won't take too long. And while we're waiting, we can verify the capacity of the drive. I'll just click on the yellow folder, go to this PC, right-click my computer. I'm laughing because normally there's a little blue line showing how much space we're using, but the blue line, this line doesn't get any bigger because your drive is bigger. So the bigger the drive is, 38 gigs apparently is what we have installed. Well, it's 35 gigs, it's actually 38, depending on which math you're using. And our 7.27 terabytes that's listed here is really 8, take a look at this. How many zeros, how many digits? 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 digits. Holy cow! What? Oh my God. Okay, 8, that's definitely 8 terabytes right here. When you divide that, so there's gigabytes and there's gigabytes. And storage companies use one and Microsoft uses the other. So when you see the 7.27, I know this is so stupid, but this 7.27 is exactly the same as this number right here, this 8. This number that starts with an 8 is the same number as this one that starts with the 7. One's gigabytes and one's gigabytes. You can Google that and even look here on YouTube. Theo Joe does a great job explaining this. I don't want indexing on. I'm going to just turn that off because indexing takes up some drive space, and I don't have enough. All right. And in the meantime, as I mentioned, we're still downloading updates in the background. And while we're waiting, let me just take a look in the chat and stall for time as we wait for the updates to go install. Gary in the chat says, turn off the indexing. Yeah, you and I are on the same page, Gary. Right on. Flipper Flop phrases it a better way. The capacity standard is in binary. It's defined by using binary, and Windows is showing it in decimal. Well, Windows is actually showing it both ways. That's what I was trying to point out. If you look to the right at that bottom number, you have that 7.27, but if you look to the left, it says that number starts with an 8. So sometimes people think they've lost space after formatting. I've seen professional journalists say, I bought, I'm reviewing this 2 terabyte drive, and after I formatted it, I was left with 1.82. Hey, genius, you're supposed to be a tech journalist. Really? Really? You're just gonna permeate this belief to your readers who look up to you as a knowledgeable source of information? Oh man, it gets under my skin. HFC says using the power config -H off in the command line to turn off hibernation is the best tip I've heard from you back in the day. Yeah, so hibernation's designed for laptops, right, to save battery life. I don't see any reason to put a desktop into hibernation mode. But your hibernation file, even if you're not using it, if hibernation is enabled, which it is by default, this computer has it on right now, it creates a hidden invisible file on your C drive that is the exact same size as the amount of RAM you have. 16 gigs of RAM, you have a 16 gig hidden hibernation file consuming your precious hard drive real estate. 32 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of RAM. Again, you're going to have 32 gig hibernation file, 64 gig hibernation file, 128 gig hibernation file, unless you turn it off. Or maybe you're using hibernation for some weird reason. I don't know. I mean, have at it if that's what you want to do. Oh, I do have a little tiny bit of a blue line there. Let me double click on this and let's go to View and let's show hidden items. And let's show, let me go back to View, show, where's my system items? I always like to see file name extensions. It pisses me off that Microsoft hides those. And system files. I got to go over here to Options, View, Hide Files and Folders, Show Hidden Files and Folders, okay. Hide Empty Directories, Hide Folder Image, Conflicts, Hide Protected Operating System Files. I don't want to hide anything. Doesn't it bother you Microsoft hides stuff from you? So how much RAM does this system have? Let's just type in system. And this system has 11th gen Core i9 11900K, yeah, 32 gigs of RAM. So looking at hiberfile.sys, well, that should be 32 gigs in size. It's saying it's not. It's making me a liar. Regardless, I don't like it. It's still a big, chunky file. Maybe it's, I'm not sure why it's only at 13 gig. Maybe they've updated Windows behavior of how it's creating the hyperfile sys. But it's hidden, but it's just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there, and it's consuming, to me, that's a lot of space, and I don't use hibernation anyway. If I had a laptop and I was wanting to save my battery, then in that case I would use hibernation. I prefer something off or something on. I don't prefer something hibernating or in standby. That's just me, that's just the way I am. So to get rid of this file, we can open, oh look, I got this stupid cartoon down here on my search bar. Let me get rid of that. Right click on the system tray, go to search, and then click show search highlights. It gets rid of that nonsense. All right, I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna type CMD, which is short for the command prompt, right click and run it as an administrator. And then I'm gonna type power CFG -H, that's our hibernation file. And then it's, I haven't done this in a while, off, I think, right there. And it doesn't say anything, like okay, no problem, but it also doesn't give us an error. So if I exit this now, and I've left hidden files turned on to see them, is that file that takes up 13 gigs still there? It's gone now. I just freed up 13 gigs of hard drive space. Why it wasn't 32, I don't know, but maybe if I actually hibernated the system, then it would have grown. But that's how that works, and that's why I turn it off. If you like hibernation, use it. I'm not telling you what you should be doing. I'm telling you what I do. Now, you can either take that information and benefit from it, or you can ignore it and just completely go your own way. There's nothing in it for me one way or the other. Choose wisely, grasshopper. I don't care. All right? This is information for people what they do with it is up to them. I'm not trying to convince you to do everything like me. You don't work for me, and I'm not responsible for what you do. So we'll agree that if you find the hibernation file useful, great. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do. I don't. All right? Let's see. Updates, are we ready yet? No, the update is doing a big cumulative update right now. And yes, we can restart right now, and if we do that, it's gonna interrupt this download, and then we have to pick it up on the reboot. So I would prefer to be patient. Once this download is complete, as it's installing, if I hit restart now, you'll see the screen that says Windows is updating your computer, please wait. Or I can wait and let it install until everything here is idle, and then I restart. Because I'm impatient, I would rather take the time to wait for this to finish in this format than to restart and potentially have to start over with a download or start over with an install. So, but that's my preference. Again, just sharing with you my professional experience, not telling you how to do anything. So much misunderstanding and miscomprehension online. It's maddening. Okay, let's see. Looking into the chat. If you have any other questions, Gerhard Huff says if you disable hibernation, you implicitly disable Windows Fast Boot. I don't like Windows Fast Boot, personally. I've had clients calling me that their Malwarebytes, when it starts, doesn't show the Malwarebytes icon in the system tray. And the fix for that is to turn off Fast Boot. Malwarebytes is still running in the background, but the customer's like, well, how would I know that without the icon in the system tray? That's a fair argument. So we turn off Fast Boot, and then Malwarebytes works like it should. That's one example of many programs that can act a little wonky on Fast Boot. But you know, if you're somebody that's turning your computer off and on again all the time, and if waiting 13 seconds on a boot is too long for you, you know, I can't help you, man. I know what to tell you. I recommend people just leave the computers on, let the computer go to sleep or into standby, but don't let anything else go into standby. And then reboot it once a week just to clear out the RAM. You'll have a far more reliable experience. You're not going to wear out any buttons, and you're not going to deal with the electronics constantly contracting and expanding as they cool down and then heat up really fast every time you turn them on. All of my clients that I'm an MSP for leave their computers on 24/7. That also enables me to remote in after hours when no one's in the office and have access to the machines to do updates and address any issues like, you know, I can't print to the printer over there. And I can do all that remotely, but they have to leave their computers on. Ever since they've been leaving their computers on, hardware problems have virtually gone down, I'd say, by about 98%. Usually when people call with a hardware problem, a computer-related problem, it's when they turn the computer on. That's usually when they're going to find it. So for that reason, I recommend leaving the computer on. Then boot times don't matter anymore. Okay, so this is downloaded. It's at 100%. And if I'm patient enough, it'll start to install. And this can take a couple minutes. So while we're waiting, if you have any other questions for me, I'd be happy to address them. I want to reiterate my goal for this 8 terabyte drive is that it's for the YouTube channel so that I can test the mini PCs specifically that are coming in that manufacturers are almost all universally claiming have a 2 terabyte storage limitation on the NVMe M.2 port on the motherboard. I think those those mini PC manufacturers are simply copying and pasting from the mini PCs they made of yesteryear. And I am trying to do both the viewer and the manufacturer a service by offering updated current information to the status of any known limitations of either the storage or the RAM, which again, I do not see any hobbyists or enthusiasts on YouTube doing. My goal is to do what they're not doing, all right? So if they start doing this, I'll find something else. And maybe I'll start a trend. I don't see any harm with increasing knowledge and informing the viewers, because the argument is, who would need an 8 terabyte drive? Is this really benefiting the average user? Well, who would need more than 640K of RAM, right? That old famous quote that Bill Gates never actually said. But the point stays true that we don't know if 8 terabyte drives might drop to $1.99 in the future. We don't know if somebody might want to save all the photographs on their 4 million megapixel photos that their Samsung S52 is taking. So in other words, let me put it to you this way. Do any of you in the live chat have less data today than you had this time last year? Anybody? Do any of you, in all sincerity, no joking, do any of you have less data this year that you're backing up or that you've collected, whether it's photos, music, any type of files? Do you have less files this year than you had last year? And I'm going to guess there's not a single one of you who has the same amount of data or less than what you had a year ago. So this only gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And suddenly 8 terabytes doesn't seem so big anymore. So if you're thinking about buying a computer and you're going to have it for the next 8 years, what are your needs going to be in 5 years? What's your data going to grow to in 5 years? Look how much it's grown just this year. I'm talking about you and your personal data. Suddenly 8 terabytes doesn't seem unreasonable for many people. And furthermore, the storage is going to get cheaper. And it's going to be, instead of choosing between 5 or 6, there's going to be 50 or 60 on Amazon. And 8 terabytes is going to seem like nothing compared to the 32 terabytes that's being sold. Okay, so if you're going to buy that mini PC and you're planning on keeping it a long time, it's nice to know that should you ever want to, that you don't have to believe that 2 terabyte limit when it's proven that it's not a problem. So it gives you peace of mind and confidence, buyer's confidence of what you're actually buying. Whether or not you use it, who's to say? So your data, you're going to have more data next year. You're going to have more data the year after that. You're going to take more pictures with your phone. Maybe you'll have more music. Maybe you'll have more movies. I don't know. Maybe you get into a new hobby and that'll be a bunch of data. And you're going to have to put that data somewhere. So we're just looking ahead to see what our options are moving forward. That's all. Patrick Manny says 1 game might be 8 terabyte in the future. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of that's going to move online, honestly, but maybe. I mean, certainly there are games that'll take up damn near a terabyte at this point, so it's not like it's that far of a stretch. We're installing at 45%, so once that finishes, we'll be able to do our restart. TJ wants to know, do you still recommend or use Acronis TrueImage these days? Absolutely. I've been using Acronis TrueImage professionally in my business since 2009. Back then it was called Acronis TrueImage Echo. Today it's not even called TrueImage anymore. It's called Acronis Cyber Protect. It's on a subscription basis, which I have to upgrade every year regardless to be compatible with all the latest controllers and be able to service the customers and their needs for upgrades, and even in some cases data recovery, even though Acronis isn't advertised as a data recovery tool. And all of my MSP clients, the clients that I maintain their IT infrastructure, would never need data recovery. We don't do that because data recovery is just a really expensive backup Backup costs pennies compared to what data recovery costs. So data recovery are two words that mean really expensive backup and time consuming. Oh, and also may not even get your stuff back, or may only get pieces of your stuff back. So you can pay 1,000 times more, roll the dice, and see what happens. So if you're one of those people who thinks it's never going to happen to me, I'm not going to waste my time and money backing up my stuff, your stuff has no value to anybody except you. Unless you're running a business, in which case it could have value to your customers. And companies have gone out of business because of a data loss and unable to recover. But if you want an expensive backup, data recovery is the way to go. And the cheapest data recovery service I know of is a little mom and pop shop out in basically Hollywood, California. It's called $300 data recovery. 300 bucks. Does that sound cheap? Because I'm telling you, that's a bargain. Other companies will charge between $1,200 to $4,000 to do the same work. And Brian Cometa is the owner over there. I've got some interviews with him. He's got probably $1 million worth of specialty recovery equipment that you and I couldn't even afford to buy, let alone have any understanding of how to use it. And if you're interested in how complex and detailed and time-consuming it is to try to back up people's data from failed storage medium, check out the interview. There's actually two of them with myself and Brian Cometa at $300 data recovery. And Brian is very open and very, very transparent about the whole service and how it works. A lot of data recovery companies are very secretive about what they do. They're like magicians. They don't want to show you how the trick is done. So Brian's my dude. But Brian should not have a business. Brian should be out of business. But thank goodness that people don't make backups, because I'm telling you, Brian has a really nice building. He's got some really nice equipment. And I understand he drives a super nice car and lives in a really nice house. Although I haven't seen either one, I imagine he's making money hand over fist for a job that shouldn't even exist. Brian Witzenberg contributes $4.99 in Super Chat. Thank you, Brian. Paul Newman mentions Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 needs a lot of storage. Yeah, that's a good example. That's a great example. Chico says, my Ace Magician mini PC shuts off after trying to leave on all night like you suggested to leave on. So with the mini PCs, you just want to make sure your power settings, you have to go into the power plan in the control panel, that it's not set to turn itself off after a certain period of time. And you got to find out why it's shutting off. You might want to reach out to Ace Magician, because it's not supposed to do that. There might be something wrong with the unit you have. All right, we're getting up on our first boot now, and I'm going to go back to Windows Update. Looks like a video driver installed as well, which is always welcome. And we'll see if we have updates to our updates. And while that's doing that, I'm going to right-click on my Start menu and go to my Device Manager and see if we have any unidentified hardware. We do not. Windows has automatically detected all of our hardware. Everybody's happy, and we're just getting a couple more little updates here, and we can begin testing the drive. Hey, Rick Lakes joins us in the chat. Welcome in, Rick. That install's done. We'll check one more time. Now, something I like to do on a new install, or even a pre-built computer, one of the first things I do to it is I go into Storage Sense, manage, okay, storage settings on Windows 10, and then configure Storage Sense, and I turn on Storage Sense, and I tell it every 30 days to delete temp file, right here, every month, you know, just run in the background and delete temp files that are taking up your hard drive space. You won't miss anything it's removing. You'll never even know it was there. And if we take a look at how much drive space we're using right now, just for example, it says we have 32. Didn't I pull it up and it said 38? Now it says 32 because we removed the hibernation file and we've cleared out some temp files. There's still more temp files to clear out. However, if I hit disk cleanup and clean up system files, which you'd think, wouldn't a regular person think that we just did that? Oh no, there's still a lot that the storage sense did not take out. So we got a Windows Update clean out for all those Windows updates we downloaded. And I'm just gonna check every single box. That's gonna free up almost 2 more gigs. I want every byte of my storage for me, not for the Windows, not for programs to leave files trashed like a 2-year-old leaving their toys around the house. I have a utilities flash drive here that I'm going to plug in, and I'm going to copy over the Crystal Disk Mark software and the Crystal Disk Info software just to see what sort of numbers we're going to see. Crystal Disk Mark being the main one I'm going to be focusing on personally. So while we're doing that, we'll come over here to my PC testing software. And I mean, if we want to, we can take CPU-Z for the other hardware to verify Crystal Disk Info. These are all portable versions of the software, so no installation is necessary and nothing goes in the registry. So we don't leave any detritus behind. Keeps everything nice and clean. Once disk cleanup is done, I want to reboot because there'll be some additional disk cleanup to files that are currently in use that won't be erased until those files get closed, which happens during shutdown and restart. Then on that reboot, we can start Crystal Disk Info and Crystal Disk Mark. Are restore points turned off by default? I got to be honest, I haven't needed to use System Restore in about 3 years. I don't even know the last time I've looked at it. Let's see, System Restore. Let's see, create a restore point. System Restore. System Restore, next. So it's already made a System Restore point in the background. It's not off, it's working. It's on by default. Let me reboot and let that disk cleanup finish. Captain Blinsky is answering questions I asked 45 minutes ago. Hey, I guess he's not going to hear this for 45 minutes later after I say it. Anybody want to tell him? I'm going to wait for my desktop to finally load. Oh my God, I think that was 13 seconds. That's just too slow. I don't know what people are on, man. I'm going to go over here to Crystal Disk Info, as I said, and we're just going to see how it identifies this drive. Well, that's Crystal Disk Mark. Uncle Carey really needs to wear his glasses more. Crystal Disk Info, here we go. That's what I wanted. So I find this interesting that some manufacturers in their firmware don't identify themselves. And I was kind of curious if Oyen Digital was one of those companies. So we don't see the Oyen Digital name here. We just get a generic PCIe SSD, 8,000 and 1.5 gigabytes, which is 8 terabytes. It sees it as PCIe 4.0 by 4, and we're NVMe 1.4. Everything's blue, everything's happy. There's our temperature, okay? So I'm going to close that, and now we'll run Crystal Disk Mark. We'll choose under settings NVMe SSD, and off to the races. Here we go. We want to see 7,000 or more on the reads. And what did they say on the writes? 6,800 or something? So those two top numbers, we want to get 15, less than 15 bytes away from 7,000. And oh, there it is. See, up here at the top, it says sequential read 4 of 5, and then it's going to change to 5 of 5. And what it's doing is doing the test 5 times, and then it's taking either the highest result or the average. I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's the highest. And it looks like it's going to, the highest number is 7,012, which falls right to exactly what the manufacturer said. Then we'll do the other tests on the left side, which is all the reads, and then it'll automatically go over to the writes. Me personally, I only care about the maximum possible performance under the best circumstances. I don't care about what everyday usage typically looks like. That I don't care. I want to know, under the best circumstances, what is the best this drive can do. And those are the numbers that are being reported by the drive manufacturers when they say up to such and such a speed reading and up to such a speed writing. Traditionally, writing is a bit slower than reading, and the cheaper, less expensive the drive is, the bigger gap there is between the read speed and the write speed. Oh, am I covering that up? Well, we're not even on that side yet, but okay, thank you for letting me know. I will move it. Let me go over here to the right. There we go, and then I'll grab the window here, and I'll just put it over here. You should be able to see that now, yeah? All right, thank you for letting me know. When I go full screen so I can see the desktop, I can't see the screen you're seeing, which is the picture-in-picture screen. So thank you. Is it true, this is from Michael in the chat room, is it true there's no noticeable speed difference between SATA and NVMe solid-state drives? I have an NVMe drive, and all I know is that it is fast. It depends how it's used. So you'll often hear me say that in my experience, and I've conducted tests where I didn't tell the customer that I upgraded their SATA drive to an NVMe drive, a SATA solid-state drive to an NVMe, which is, of course, solid-state, because I wanted to hear from the customer. I wanted them to say, hey, did you do something to my computer? Remember, I have keys and the alarm code to go into my clients' businesses after hours so I can do maintenance and other work that needs to be done. So what I decided to do, just for the sake of having some little bit of fun and a little bit of a scientific survey, was I was planning to go in there that night and swap out their 2.5-inch, whatever it was, SSD, and replace it with an NVMe SSD that ran at twice the speed. Ran at 4 times the speed, actually. And then I didn't tell them I did that. I told them I was going there and I was doing work. And then I waited, and I waited. And 2 weeks went by. I heard nothing. So I called up the customer and I said, how are things going over there? They said, fine, fine. I said, let me ask you something. Do you notice that your computer's any faster or any slower in the last 2 weeks? And she said, you know, now that you mention it, it does seem like it's been a little bit slower. Wait, what? I wasn't expecting that. I said, well, it shouldn't be. I put a drive in that's 4 times faster, and I didn't tell you because I wanted to see what your reaction would be. And I thought you were going to say, now that you mention it, it seems like it's a lot faster. And this happened at both of my clients, the exact same thing. Now, these people are doing work. They're not hobbyists. They're not enthusiasts. They're not farting around playing games. They're looking at spreadsheets and PDF files, and they're writing up emails, and you know, they're dealing with work. And no, they don't see any difference. The system doesn't noticeably boot any faster or any differently. On the other hand, those people aren't typically the people watching these videos. For some reason I can't explain, I seem to be attracting the very tiny minority of tech enthusiasts that chase benchmarks and use their computer in a very unusual way that does not represent the vast majority. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Carey. I see a big difference when I upgraded it. Right. Well, I'm not talking about the little tiny group of people. I'm talking about my customers, the average ordinary computer users, and what they have expressed to me. And I'm simply sharing the knowledge with you. I can't tell you if you bite into something, some kind of food, that you're going to like the taste or the texture or the temperature. I have no idea. I can be a professional chef and I can make a plate of chicken wings. And you can ask me, hey, are those chicken wings spicy? And I'm eating them. I'm like, no, it's not spicy at all. Nom, 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 nom. And then you take one and you're like, all right, crank. Oh, call an ambulance. Bring a fire extinguisher. This is the hottest thing I've ever eaten. And I'm like grabbing another wing going, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I make them way spicier than this. I took it easy on this bat. And I'm the professional chef, right? So I'm the expert. Well, some things you just have to experience and decide for yourself. But overall, if you're an average, ordinary user, which I suspect you're not if you're watching me, and again, I don't know why, the channel is designed for the everyday user, not for the enthusiast, because, like I said earlier, there's plenty of enthusiast channels to pick from, but not so much available for the average, ordinary user. But it seems that only enthusiasts are the ones who watch these kinds of videos. So I have attracted a crowd that I was not trying to attract. All right. So then I know this because when I say things about the general public and how they're using their computers, I get a lot of people going, I don't know what you're talking about. I have the exact opposite experience. Now, I don't know if they're doing that to be argumentative. I don't know if they're doing that to prove how much better they are than everybody else. I don't even know why they just don't keep it to themselves. They know as well as everybody else that what they're doing is not a very common way of using a computer, okay? And they're not breaking any rules, but I never said that there's nobody that would benefit from it. I never said that. What I said was, when I deal with my real world customers, they're not noticing any difference. Now, that's not to say that I don't have a customer here or there that does in fact benefit from the performance because they're doing a very unique thing with their computer that has a lot of I/O. But the vast majority, 99%, or somewhere in the upper 90 percentile, they don't see any difference whatsoever. We're reaching a point of diminishing returns when it gets to this stuff. I have a Gen 5 NVMe drive coming, and it should read at around 12,000 megabytes per second. And I've expressed this before that when you reach a certain point, when you're cutting things in half, and you keep cutting them in half and cutting them in half, the pieces get to be so insignificant, who cares? So, for example, say you have a medication, you have a tablet, a pill, and a doctor says, cut that pill in half and take half a pill. Okay, it's fine. Doctor says, I want you to take that half and cut it in half, so I want you to take a quarter. Okay. Doctor says, I want you to take that quarter and cut it in half, so now you have an eighth. Okay. Doctor says, I want you to take that eighth, cut it in half, and now you have a 16th. Okay. Doctor says, I want you to take that 16th and cut it in half, and now you've got a 32nd. Okay. Now I want you to take that 32nd. How much medicine is in that piece, that little tiny piece? Will you benefit from it? Will you feel it? Will it have any impact on you at all? And once you reach the point where the medicine no longer has an impact, as you make it and keep cutting it in half, it continues to not have an impact. Doesn't matter how tiny you make it, it still has the same result. So if we're moving data at, well, let's say it takes 2 minutes for your computer to boot up. And I tell you, we can make your boot up time 50% faster. You're saving a minute. Now, instead of 2 minutes to boot up, it's taking 1 minute to boot up. And if I tell you I can make your boot time 50% faster, instead of taking a minute to boot up, it's only going to take 30 seconds. But now your return on investment is cut in half, because before you saved a minute, now you're only saving 30 seconds. And it's costing. The more you want to do this, the more it costs. You say 30 seconds takes too long. Can we cut that in half? We can. We cut it down to 15 seconds. Your boot time is now 15 seconds. For the full price of the expensive drive, you've saved 15 seconds. Is it worth it? Well, of course, I'm talking about the boot time. Your boot time is 15 seconds and we can cut it in half. Now your boot time is 7.5 seconds. Does that make a difference in your world, really? Your boot time's at 7.5 seconds and we can cut that in half, and now your boot time is 3.75 seconds. Who's measuring this? Are you even human? Your boot time is 3.75 seconds and we can cut that in half. Now your boot time is, I don't know, let's just round it, 1.8, 1.9, 1.8 seconds. Now let's say we can cut that in half. And now instead of having to wait 3 seconds or 7 seconds or 3 seconds, now it's 1.5 seconds. Let's cut that in half. Now it's going to take 3/4 of 1 second. Does that make a big deal in your life that your boot time went from 13 seconds to 7 seconds, 3.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds to 3/4 of a second? Because it's costing more and more the faster we want to go. Well, let's keep going. The return you're getting is diminishing. The cost is going up, but the returns are diminishing. So what are you doing? You chasing benchmarks? You got a fatter wallet than me. Once you achieve a certain level of performance, anything above and beyond that is reached a point of diminishing returns where the customer says, even the end user is like, I don't see it. And to make those increases is expensive. And the more you're spending in that regard, the less you're getting back in return. So someone would have to have a very specialty use case scenario that is very, very uncommon to justify that. Or they just enjoy the hobby and they have money burning a hole in their pocket. And that's okay. But, which one are you? That's the question I'm not asking you. That's a question you need to ask yourself when you're shopping. Do I need to have the Ferrari? If I had it, would I even use it any differently than my Buick? Can I afford the insurance? Is it worth all the trouble that might come with it, since, having something bleeding edge isn't usually reliable and it's not usually cheap. But do you want to show off to other people? Hey man, nothing illegal with that. It's just not my thing. Diminishing returns. At the end of the day, what's it going to take to make you happy? Are you happy with a 13-second boot time? Or are you happy looking at benchmark numbers and you're letting some benchmark software determine your state of mind? It's your choice. I don't let benchmark numbers decide how something feels. If something feels fast, and here's the problem. We got so much virtual reality. We have so much disconnect from real reality that nobody's considering feelings anymore. It's like everybody's on painkillers. I'm old school. I'm Gen X. I was raised before there were home computers, and I was a teenager when home computers became a thing, and I got to grow up with computers growing up with me. Now, kids are growing up to computers. There's a difference between growing up with and growing up to. And as computers grew, so was I. And I've learned not to trust them. I've learned not to count on them. They have to be audited like children. You can't just set something on automatic and think it's just going to run perfectly without any supervision ever. These things need to be audited. We're still evolving the technology and the operating systems, and yet we have children born into this that don't understand that. They think it's just super reliable and it's going to be around forever. I don't know, man. Maybe it will. I will say that because of how I was raised and because of my experience with the earlier versions of computers, as well as the fact that I make a living still fixing them, they're still not to be 100% trusted to the point where you can just set something on automatic and just walk away. And if people, like if I have a customer call me and say, this 13-second boot time is too long. I want it cut in half. And I'm like, yeah, we could totally do that. We just need to spend $1,200 on a drive. And they say, okay, here's the $1,200. I'll do the work. But I'm telling you, that phone call's never happened. That customer is only in my imagination. I haven't had any customers like that in reality. The people that do that are typically the people that do their own work. They don't hire people like me, all right? So that's an enthusiast or a hobbyist thing more so than a business thing. Now, when we talk about servers, it's a whole different ball of wax, and it's not what I do. So, like I said in the beginning, everything's we're living in like this segmented world, and people tend to align with whatever in their own segment, and anything outside of that, they have no empathy or understanding of, nor do they care what it's like to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. They don't even consider that anymore. They only care about their shoes. And I see so much of it, it's driving me nuts. So I'm trying to present information in a grounded way that adds a dose of reality and is always practical. If customers want me to do impractical things that cost a lot of money, take a lot of time for results that don't really matter, if they're paying, I'm doing it. And you know why I'm not doing it? Because that's not typical customer behavior. Not in my world, not in my segment. But hey, I've only been doing this 32 years. What do I know? Jim says Gen X is an old school, take it from a boomer. What do I think about ChatGPT and being AI? I love them, I think they're great. I'm looking through the chat here to see what I'm missing. Luke Greeny joins us, says, good evening. It's a breezy 73 degrees Fahrenheit here in Vermont. Oh, I wish I was there. It sounds awesome. Our benchmarks on the right's 6,081, the top right, and top left, 7,012. That's screaming fast. Screaming fast. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, Oyen Digital. Now the question is, are you going to be reliable? And for that, time will tell. So we're going to use this drive. You know what? I can go full screen on camera one at this point because I don't think we need to look at the desktop. I'm going to use this, as I mentioned, to test out the maximum capacities to verify if, in fact, 2 terabyte storage limit is still in place. On most modern mini PCs that are at least mid-range, not the really low-end, those low-budget ones are still limited by how many lanes of data those low-end processors don't have as many lanes of data, so it wouldn't benefit you anyway. But you know, mid-range and above, they still say 2 terabytes. And so far, the Minis Forum UM690 XT, the 773 Lite, and the, there's one I'm forgetting. I just did the review. All say they have 2 terabyte storage limits. They don't. 4 terabytes works in them, and I've told them. The machine we just tested from B-Link the other day says it has a 2 terabyte storage limit. It doesn't. And now that I have an 8 terabyte NVMe drive, if it passes the 4 terabyte test, we'll try the 8 terabyte. And I will inform the manufacturers, and hopefully they'll update their website so that consumers will realize they're actually getting more than the company's stating. They're actually underselling it. And when it comes to buying an 8 terabyte NVMe drive today, which one would I buy? Well, if I had to buy one today, I'm going to buy this Oyen Digital because there's nothing even close to the price, and it seems to match all the specifications that everybody else. They're all sort of saying the same thing: 7,000 write speed, 7,000 read speed, 6,000 write speed. The only difference I'm seeing right now is warranty. 3-year warranties on the lower side of NVMe drives. Typically, I'm accustomed to 5-year warranties because when NVMe drives first came out, universally across the board, they were 5 years. In fact, that Team 4 terabyte drive. That's $199, 5-year warranty. I could buy 2 of those 4 terabyte drives that are Gen 3, put them in a RAID 0 and have 8 terabytes for less than half of the price of this 8 terabyte drive, but it also runs at half the speed. And it would require 2 M.2 slots, which, if your motherboard has it, that's great. You can find a way to save 50%, but you're also cutting your speed in half by 50%. Remember what I said, you want to go faster, you want to go 50% faster, you need to spend twice as much. So every time you want to go 50% faster, give me twice as much money. And in return, you're going to get less and less and less in return. The price keeps going up and the returns keep going down. That's up to you. So if getting 2 terabyte drive, no, I've done the math wrong. I did the math completely wrong. If you buy, no, I did it right. 4 terabyte drive, in my head I went to 2 terabyte. You need 4 2 terabyte drives to get to 8 terabytes. And there's not many motherboards that have 4 M.2 slots. They do have M.2 add-in cards that you can buy on Amazon, and you can put 4 M.2 NVMe drives in it and then plug it into an available slot on your motherboard. Heck, I think they sell them, they go to 16. Have at it. But I have digressed. I never do that. Squirrel! There's a squirrel. I'm impressed. It's everything I hoped it would be. And I was a little worried when I saw this chintzy packaging, but I think about it. The next cheapest drive is $180, isn't it? $180 more? Let me go back over to Amazon and take another look. What is the next, like if this drive wasn't available, which drive would I buy? Let me take a look. Let's go back to Amazon. $899. So the Inland would be our closest. It's $90 more for essentially everything being the same. Did we look at the warranty on this? I can't remember anymore. Is this a 3-year or a 5-year? There, 5800. See, they say 5800 on the right, which is a little bit slower. It says it's the E18 controller. Is that what I said this one was? They're probably identical. What's our warranty? Ooh, 6-year? I've never seen a 6-year warranty before. Okay, as far as I can tell, for that extra $90, you're doubling your warranty, going from a 3-year warranty to a 6-year warranty. And I will remind you, I have never ever seen a failed NVMe drive in my career. I will also tell you that the warranty is just going to replace the drive. They're not going to warranty your data loss. Nobody ever would do that. That's not possible. So, don't think of that as like a safety net. It's only a safety net in the sense that if the drive has failed as a result of a defect, be it in manufacturing or some form of defect, then of course they're going to replace it. If the failure rather is because of you, because there was a power surge and it spiked your equipment, it's a roll of the dice if they're going to honor that warranty because it's not their fault. So, yeah, that's impressive, a 6-year warranty. And I tease when I say this is like, I see Inland as like dollar store brand. But that's because the cheap Inland USB drives are some of the absolute worst USB drives. This is a USB 3.0 flash drive that's a terabyte of storage for $28. And it'll take you 19 hours on a USB 3.0 port or a USB 3.2 port to copy a terabyte of data to it. In the meantime, I've got a SanDisk 1 terabyte drive that I can fill all 1 terabyte in under an hour. So, you know, because I keep seeing these super cheap piece of crap flash drives that don't actually operate at the speeds that they're USB 3.0, yes, but they don't perform at USB 3.0 speeds. And the reason it's $28 and the SanDisk is $128 for the same 1 terabyte is a Samsung's going to get the job done 18 times faster. But some people don't care about that. Some people only care about how much it costs because they have all the time in the world. What I wouldn't give to have all the time. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I enjoy keeping myself busy and I enjoy helping a lot of people. If I can help one more person today, if I can squeeze in one more person, it's good for business, adds to the profit margin, and it makes me feel good that I got something done today. So that would be the next closest, $899. That's a $90 gap. Then, of course, we go to almost $1,100 on the Sabrent. The Corsair MP600 kind of falls in the middle here, $1,059. And remember, I've got to pay sales tax on that, which is nearly 10%. And then, of course, by looking at these numbers, I can already tell the capacities. Yeah, it's only 4 terabytes there. Oyen Digital has an external 8 terabyte USB drive. Oh, that's cool. I didn't see that till just now. And they want essentially $90 for that enclosure and the 2 USB cables. Because you could make your own for probably less than the additional $90. But USB Type-C, 3-year warranty. The work is already done for you. That's interesting. That's a 4 terabyte. That's a 2.5 inch. That's an, I don't know, docking station. That's 8 terabytes. Here's a docking station that can, a Ricoh that you can plug your NVMe drives into for $150. This Levin drive is 4 terabytes. It's $165. There's nothing this cheap. This is dollar store. This is super, super slow. So if you don't mind extra, extra slow, you can buy Levin. Like they make Inland look top shelf. What's our read and write speeds on this, should it say? Read speeds may up to 3,000, at least 2,000. Who's writing this? That's kind of vague. JP600 is only 22 by 80 millimeters small. Well, clearly this is not their native language. More choices. Levin provides all kinds of capacity to meet your needs. 128 gig, 256 gig, 512, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte. It's all up to you. 3-year warranty. The actual capacity of our solid-state disk is a little smaller than we listed due to the different calculations between computers and manufacturers. A computer will see 1 megabyte as 1,024. 1 gig is 1,024 megs. Manufacturers see 1 meg is 1,000 kilobytes and 1 gig is 1,000 megabytes. So we talk about that difference, and it's not actually smaller. It's the same size. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the old joke where the guy says, let me order a pizza. And the pizza maker, the Pizzoli, what do they call it? The pizza maker says, you want me to cut that into 8 slices or you want me to cut it into 4? And the guy says, you know, I'm not that hungry today. I don't think I can eat 8 slices, so just go ahead and cut it into 4. Maybe I should buy one of those Levin drives. I mean, I'm talking crap about them. I do have a Levin, just so you know, in the other room over here. I was testing different drives. And I saw this at Newegg. I got some deal alert. And it's right in here. And whatever this is, it's super inexpensive. And the reason it's back in the box is because I don't have the patience for it. I don't even remember what's in this box. It's been such a long time. I was so turned off by how painfully slow it was. I'm like, dude, I got other things to do today. I don't have time for this. It's missing. Hold on, it's gotta be next to it. Because that's how I organize things. I keep things in nice organized piles. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So this is apparently a 11 external 2 gig drive that's USB. Let me show you something. You could save a lot of money by buying one of these. Let me plug it in. You can also do your own dental work and not have to pay a dentist, and that can save you a lot of money too. This is a blue port. Let's use a blue port to give it the benefit of the doubt. Let me pull this back a little bit here because it's just dangling off the counter. And let's go back over to the desktop. There. And I have to go full screen. And then let me close this out so it can redetect. It's crystal disk info. I want crystal disk mark. And let's see what kind of performance numbers we get here on drive D, the 2 terabyte external drive. Hope you brought a sandwich. Might be a while. Let me turn camera 1 back on and put myself in a corner here so we can watch this together. I just have to grab the right input source. There it is. All right, let me take a look into the chat and see what's going on here. LRCX wants to know if I ever set Samsung Magician to full performance mode in the optimizing tab. It's not offered universally for all Samsung products, and if it is, yes, I do turn that on if it's available. Why wouldn't I? Now, here's the problem. If we have a smaller capacity external drive, then the speed isn't as important because we're obviously not going to put that much data on it. But the bigger the capacity of the drive is, the more likely you need to put a lot of data on it. And if it's slow, then it's going to take forever. So the reason I'm buying a 2 terabyte drive is so it can hold these massive video files. If I record these sessions or I want to download the YouTube's compressed version of it, When I render that out, let's say in 4K, my 2 to 3 hour video is somewhere between 40 and 50 gigs, that one file. Okay, so to copy that 40 or 50 gig file over to this drive is going to be a while. And that's only copying one file. And if this drive can hold, let's say those files are 50 gigs, so each 2 files is 100 gig, and we've got 2,000 gigs available, that computer is going to be tied up for a while, and I got other things to do. Now, that may make me a bit of a snob or an elitist when it comes to the storage speed, because I believe the larger the capacity is, the more important the transfer speed is. So, for example, I have a more expensive 2 terabyte drive back here. And this one might cost twice as much for the same capacity of 2 terabytes. Okay? You want to go faster, you're going to spend more money. You're looking for the bargain basement, you're going to go slower. You're getting less for your money. That's fine, but don't kid yourself. Set your expectations realistically. So here is a SanDisk Extreme Pro 2 terabyte drive. And just to keep things fair, to make sure it's 100% fair, I'm going to use that same USB cable and the same USB port. As soon as this test is done, I'm going to plug the same capacity drive in, and we're going to run the same test again. And in particular, I want you to pay attention to those 2 top numbers, the read speed and the write speed, because this is going to be indicating if you're going to be copying large files often, how much time to plan for to do something else while that's copying. So if you're going to copy 2 terabytes to this, it's going to take twice as long, let's just say, than copying 2 terabytes to this. The same data from the same computer plugged into the same USB port will potentially take 2 times longer because you bought the cheapest drive. And if you don't care, that's fine. I just want to educate you on what you're paying for. And if you're somebody who demands the best and you want the fastest, you're going to pay more for it. So you can pick the capacity, or you can pick the performance, or you can have capacity and performance if you want the most expensive of those options. So there's our final numbers, okay? It's not that it's a defective product by any means. Those are both 2 terabyte drives, but one performs very differently, and one of them is very inexpensive by comparison. So let me go back full screen over here so I can see what I'm doing. And let's go ahead and we'll disconnect this drive down here. And I will close the software out up here. Now I'm going to step around and I'm going to unplug the 11 2 terabyte external drive, and I'm going to plug in the SanDisk. And I will tell you, when this 11 drive heats up, it's going to get slower and slower and slower. The SanDisk will never slow down that much due to heat. So that's the other thing to consider when it comes to solid state drives. The bigger the file is, and the cheaper, the less expensive the drive is that you bought, it can slow down to a fraction of a mechanical hard drive speed, which means if I copied 2 terabytes to this, and I copied 2 terabytes to a mechanical drive also hooked up through USB, this will be in the lead for the first few minutes, and then the hard disk, it's going to run one solid write speed. It doesn't change because it gets hotter, and it becomes a tortoise and hare situation where the slow and steady wins the race. That mechanical drive will finish that 2 terabyte copy probably at least an hour quicker than this super fast SSD that got slower and slower and slower as it heated up. So keeping that in mind, we've got the SanDisk, also 2 terabytes, that costs probably twice as much money as the 11. We're going to go back over to Crystal Disk Mark. We're going to bring up the software and we're going to run the exact same test, no manipulation here. Drag it over here. We're on the D drive. We'll do all the tests, and let's see what kind of numbers we're going to get on this. This is the only thing we've changed. Same capacity, very different prices. What do our numbers look like? They're exactly the same. So that means our limitation may actually be the USB port or the cable, because this drive runs way faster than that. Remember, I said these were live. I'm not kidding. So give me a second and let me stop the test. That was interesting. Let me stop the test. So I don't know if it's the USB port now or if it's the USB cable. So I'm going to take away that 11 cable, since that might be part of our problem. And let's use the cable that SanDisk gave us. In fact, I have a Type-C to Type-C cable right here. Let's plug in, let's plug in the Type-C cable, and then let's plug it into the Type-C jack down here, which should be the fast one. Maybe I should have been using the red port. We might have to rerun the test on the 11 again. So now, let's see if we get any difference here. Let me close this and reopen it so we can redetect. Redetect. Bring that back over here. And let's just do the top two tests. See what it does. See, everything's live. But I can guarantee you what I'm telling you is true. I just did a poor job of giving it an example. Now, this drive has the ability to run at up to 2,000 megabytes per second, and I have never plugged it into a port that has ever in my life achieved anything more than 1,050. So I've just blindsided myself twice. That, holy cow. Holy cow. I've never seen a USB external drive ever outside of Thunderbolt run more than 1,050. Okay. Now to keep the test fair, as soon as it's done, we're going to use the SanDisk cable and we'll plug it into the 11 and we'll run the same test. And let's see what the 11 does. And remember, the 11 is going to get slower the more data we write to it. So if we try and write 2 terabytes to this 11, I hope you pack a lunch. I would demonstrate it, but I don't know that YouTube will let me stay live that long. But that's okay. If you want to save money, you can buy the 11 and save the money. Let me go full screen here on HDMI. Let's close this out again. Oh my gosh, that is super fast. And then we'll disconnect it down here. Eject. Okay, let me step around. And I'm going to take the SanDisk, unplug it, changing nothing else, just plug the 11. Okay, 11 is way, way less expensive. Same capacity. Can't emphasize this enough. I want you to understand when you're buying things, why you're paying less or why you're paying more. Let's move that over here. And we'll do just the 2 top tests so we can get this done quickly. Not much different than the other port, right? So clearly our bottleneck is this 11 drive. It's running at 1/4 the speed of the SanDisk drive, but the SanDisk doesn't cost 4 times as much. Might cost twice as much, but it'll go 4 times faster. And more importantly, it can sustain that write speed. Now, all solid state drives, when you write a lot to them all at once, they start to heat up, and as a result of the heat, they'll start to get slow. But this drive will heat up to the point where a floppy disk can beat it in performance. So the numbers we got were essentially the same. I mean, they might be a little tiny bit bigger than the other port, but now check this out. I have a utility, and you can download this utility for free. It's called H2 Test W, all one word. And what that's going to do is it's going to write to the full capacity of empty space on a flash drive or a memory card to verify it's not a fake product, that it actually can hold that much data. And it's going to then read it back to verify how much time it took to write the data, how much time it took to read it, and whether or not the capacity matched and whether or not the data was corrupt. So, you know, what good is it if it's going fast and your data's corrupted, right? So if I go back to full screen, I want you to witness this. We go over here to our flash drive that I just plugged in right here under, right here, H2 Test W is a piece of freeware you can download. And when I bring up H2 Test W, it's going to start in German. And I just have to click English right here. And then I'm going to select the target drive, the drive I want to test. That's going to be the 11. And then I'm going to say write and verify. And so I don't know, my picture might be covering, I apologize if you guys didn't see any of that. Let me abort this and do it again. Hold on. Hold on a second. I'm just now realizing my video's covering it up. Once again, I'm going to go back over to H2 Test W. We're going to start the software, which my picture is covering up. So let me drag that over here so as you can seize it. Aye. It starts in German. How do I get the English version, Carey? It's also the English version. You just have to pick the English option and then hit select target. And now we're going to pick the 11 drive and click OK and then click what happened? Oh, there's existing test data because I aborted it. So I need to clear the drive. So let's just bring up the 11 drive. These are the test files it's been writing. I'm going to just bring all these test files up. You know what? Let's just get rid of camera 1 because it's really getting annoying. I just want to delete when you run H2 Test W, you need the drive clean, formatted and clean, or the test isn't evaluating the entire capacity of where other data is residing, right? So that's why we weren't able to start the test. So delete all of that. When we get to this situation where it's not letting us delete the files, then the easy answer is let's just do a format. And we'll do a quick format. However they define quick. Let me close the software here for that. It's taking a long time to just do a quick format, like a really long time. John Williams wants to know, is your air conditioning running? It's really hot there, 97 degrees Fahrenheit? Yeah. Yes, yes, and yes. What's the deal? This should have formatted, man. What's going on? Cancel this. I don't have time for this. It's not allowing me to cancel. Remember, you can save a lot of money buying the 11 drive. Just thank goodness I saved all that money. Let's cancel. Try it again. Right click. Properties, tools. No, I don't want to do that. Right click, format. You don't have sufficient rights. Okay. Reboot time. get used to those rebooting routines when you buy the cheap stuff. All right, so we're going to reboot. We're going to put the 11 drive back in, and we'll see what happens here. Right click, full screen. And then let's see, back over to H2 test W. So I got to use this one right here. Oh wait, I don't want to do that yet. I still wanted to reformat the drive. So this PC, back over here, no. That's my flash drive that has my utilities on it. Where did my 11 drive go? Did I kill it? Let me unplug it and plug it back in again here on the USB port. Let's go back over to the drive here, and we're going to just unplug and replug, and I'm going to take my flash drive out since I don't need that anymore. Reduce my options here. It says you need to format drive, and okay, I'm good with that. Yep. Quick format. Here we go. Yes. See if I have any better luck this time. See what happens. I'll try to be more patient. And while I'm waiting, let me turn camera 1 back on. My microphone is messing up. Nothing's changed on my microphone, guys. Everything is, the batteries are always charged, but for every broadcast, they have a 9-hour battery life. So there may be some encoding issues with YouTube servers. Obviously, I can't hear it without creating a massive echo. So whatever it is, it does not appear to be on my end. Nothing has changed on my microphone. The batteries, batteries are fully charged. And connection shows it's connected, and I'm on the same frequency I've been on. It hasn't changed. So no idea. Is anybody hearing me clearly? I might be getting interference. I mean, it's possible if one of the neighbors fired something up on this. Oh, it was rubbing on my shirt? I don't know how it could have. Okay, so now let's, I don't know why this isn't formatting. It's pretty rough. Very strange. Oh, wait, I think it's finally done it. Format is complete. All right, you know what? Let's get rid of camera 1 so we can see that. Okay, back to full screen. Thank you very little. I'll click close and H2 test W. English, select target drive. Target drive will be drive D. Okay. Close the window. We're going to write all available space, and we're going to verify it. Here we go. Now, this is a pretty normal message because of NTFS. There might be a very slight difference in capacity to actual usable space, but those numbers are very, very close, and that's just normal, nothing to be concerned about. So I'll click OK, and we're off. Now, pay particular attention to the write speed. So right here, it shows we're doing 380 megabytes per second. And the more data we copy to it, the lower that number is going to go. Now, a regular mechanical hard drive will move the data about 120. I want you to keep that in mind. So you're going to look at this and you're going to say, wow, 348 megabytes a second. I just showed you the SanDisk at 2,000 megabytes a second, but bear that in mind that the SanDisk costs a little bit more money. So we're at 346, and that number is going down because the SSD is getting hotter. The hotter the SSD gets, the more that number drops. Eventually, that number is going to drop to a point where a floppy disk is going to outpace it. Watch. And it won't take very long. Maybe give it about 10 minutes. Now it's telling us, it's estimating this is going to take over 90 minutes at this speed right here to fill this drive to capacity. But as the speed keeps getting slower and slower, the time remaining is going to grow and grow and grow. And this will likely become closer to 4 hours. Now, we're not likely going to have this issue with the SanDisk. Well, all SSDs slow down as they get hot. The brand names that cost more perform better, generally speaking, when we're looking at trusted brands, respected brands in the industry. They just operate to a higher standard, and they have different expectations. So if you're thinking, and I can't emphasize this enough, that you just found a bargain for a really large capacity flash drive and it says it's USB 3.2, I promise you it's compatible with USB 3.2. It might even have a USB 3.2 controller, but the NAND chips that are on it are super inexpensive NAND chips that can't run at USB 3.2 speeds. So technically they're not lying to you. So it's maintaining that 343 right now, which is fantastic. We'll keep an eye on it because once it reaches a certain temperature, it's going to nosedive. I'm gonna turn on the noise compression and the noise gate to see if that helps with the sound issues. You'll have to let me know if I've made it better or worse. So we'll see if that helps. I don't know. The air conditioner, it can be quite a bit loud here, but it's also really super hot. So people like that better? We'll leave those settings on. Okay, thank you for the information. I want to go back now and see full screen what's going on with our write speed. Still maintaining 341. And we've written how much data? 86 megs. Or is that 86 gigs? I think that's gigs. We got 2,000 gigs to write, thereabouts. Okay, apologize for the background noise. Thank you for making me aware of it. Let me grab a cold Gatorade and just keep an eye on this. Again, if you're only copying tiny files to it, it won't be an issue for you. But then if you're only copying tiny files to it, why do you need 2 terabytes? That doesn't make any sense. Unless you've got millions of tiny files you collect. I mean, I guess somebody out there does that, but most people buying large capacities do so because they have large files and a lot of them. We're just going to keep an eye on that, and it's just getting hotter and hotter. Actually, doesn't feel too bad to the touch right now. And I'm going to check my phone while we're waiting here. Tell you what I'll do. I will bring up the camera again. and I'll make it smaller. Take this and we'll put it right up there like that. There we go. So you can rest assured I haven't walked away. All right. Let me check the phone, see if I'm missing anything. Should I not be playing my game right now? Is this rude? Gary Boyd sent in a $20 contribution via PayPal. Thank you so much, Gary. Appreciate you supporting the channel. It's folks like you that make it possible for me to buy this equipment that I'm using to evaluate and not be tied to a manufacturer requiring me to say certain things or not allowing me to say certain things or requiring me to publish something by a certain day. Total freedom and total freedom of speech and free to express my opinion and whatever timeline I want to do it. And that's possible through your contribution. So thank you for that. How's our speed doing? We're still doing really good at 345 megabytes a second. It's actually doing better than I remember, but I think it takes about somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes. It starts to fall. I'm real happy with it right now. We've been going, what, about 8 minutes? Let's see what happens once we cross over about 10 or 12 minutes. Once that speed, once the temperature gets a certain point, that speed is just going to get slower, 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 slower. And it is typical on the budget flash drives and budget external solid state USB drives. That's normal. It's part of the reason why they're so inexpensive by comparison. Hmm. Now my air conditioner's off now, so I bet the sound sounds great. All right, I don't see any other questions in there for me. If you do have any technical questions for me, I'm happy to do my best to provide an answer or a direction, and also do watch other chat commenters for their answers, because we have a lot of people in our chat, regular community members, that are very knowledgeable in many different areas and might even be likely be able to provide you an answer better than mine. So not too proud to admit that. So even if I don't, if I've missed your question, if I didn't see it, I mean, the chat just moves so quickly. I try to see it, and if I can, I'll acknowledge it and try to at least give you an answer, but also watch the chat room for other answers as well. Just crossed over 10 minutes, so we'll just keep going here. Estimating it's going to be 90 minutes to fill this drive up. But I can tell you it'll probably be 2 to 3 times longer than that in reality. I just want to prove it. Arrive Lois says, how is the 5th gen SSD, Carey? When it arrives, I'll share that information with you. Davis Parsons has now been a member of our channel for 12 months. That is awesome. 1 full year is a member of the channel, not a subscriber, a paying member. And again, it's folks like Davis that are enabling me to be able to buy this equipment to make the content and to offer the content for free to everybody. So thank you, Davis. Any other technical questions I can answer for you while we're waiting? Again, once that temperature hits a certain, I just can't remember exactly how far we got to go into it. And maintaining 343 is not terrible. But if we'd have done the same test on this drive, I'm going to let you do the math in your head. Instead of 343, we'd see somewhere close to 2,000. So that's almost 6 or 7 times faster. But we will pay more for this drive. Same capacity. Once this test writes data to capacity, then it will read it back. And the read will always be much, much faster. Read may only take a quarter of the amount of time. I don't intend to wait that long. I'm not going to torture you. I just want to see. I mean, I'm impressed it's holding 343, to be honest. And even that's kind of sad when you know you can get 2,000. And even in between, you know, we got kind of 2 extremes. We got the top of the barrel and we got the bottom of the barrel. In the middle of the barrel, you're running 1,000. So you're still 3 times faster than this. And it's not 3 times the cost. Joe in the chat is asking, what is the name of the next new drive type after NVMe? Is there a new drive type after NVMe? I don't know what you're talking about. Does anybody know what Joe's talking about? You mean generation 5, the next gen of NVMe? Or are you talking about a different type of storage? I don't know what you mean. I should turn I've got the monitor set to go to sleep over here. That's why the screen just went all rainbowy on us. Go back over the screen. Let's go to color settings. See the problem. Set that to 3 hours. Never, ever wanted to go to sleep. That's set that way because it was a fresh, clean install that we just did, and that's what Windows defaulted to. I normally change that, and I just forgot. Joe says, you mentioned in one of your previous videos introducing M.2 versus NVMe. Yes. So again, I would ask you to be specific about what your question. I still don't understand. You're asking me if I know about that guy in that movie that did that thing, and I do want to help you. I want to answer your question, but I don't understand what you're asking. I'm going to grab another cold Gatorade since we're waiting. And the 11 drive is doing better than I expected it to, but it's okay. Give it a little time. When I ran the test on this, I should look and see if I have the saved results because I've already done the test. And then I took the test results and saved them so I could just pull the screenshots up. But I think that's over on my NAS, which is not plugged in and I don't have access to. Be sure I saved them. Let me check, just check this streamer, see if I've saved the files locally. I don't think I did. Pictures. Search for 11. Nothing. Where else would I put it? Maybe downloads directory. It's in there. Oh, how about if I just search the whole C drive? LEVEN. Because if I have it, it'll be like it'll be the product name .jpg. I was for a certain amount of time saving the files here, and then I started saving them on the NAS. And for a while, I was copying off of the NAS here so I could add them into OBS. And then I just was eventually just putting them on the NAS and collecting all the data to put together a video that I never made. And it's not showing me anything on search results, so I don't think it's local. Oh well. Joe says it is next gen. So that's the same thing. NGFF or next generation form factor is M.2. M.2 is the connector. Next generation form factor would be the type of drive that plugs into that connector, which we could call an M.2 drive or an NVMe drive. So then we have different generations of NVMe. We have generation 3, generation 4, and now generation 5, each one doubling in speed and doubling in price for the most part. Phone is beeped because it appears the mailman has walked into my garage. Well, I'm assuming he's dropped off a package. That is so weird for a delivery person to just walk into my property like that. I guess that's what I get for leaving the garage door open. How is this thing holding up over here? Still maintaining that 348. It's getting hot. How many minutes? 18, 19 minutes writing, and it's doing pretty good actually at 3. Believe it or not, 348's pretty good. I'm expecting it to get worse than the transfer speed of a mechanical drive. I'm expecting that to drop by 2/3. Charlie Pat 74 contributes $10. Is it trimming the drive? It is not, no. Charlie Pat says, I bought the Minis Forum NPP7. Oh, that was the Minis Forum I couldn't think of that we ran the 4 terabyte test on that they said had a 2 terabyte limit. He says, I bought the NPV7 after your review. I'll let you know more when I get it. I love that. I love hearing from actual end users what they think of the product. You know, where again, there's no motivation for them to evangelize the product or to demonize the product. They just have their experience, and I'd love to know if you buy anything that I show on this channel, even this 8 terabyte drive, and you buy it, let me know you bought it. And then I hope you'll follow up with me and let me know what you like about it, what you don't like about it, whether or not you sent it back, because hey, it's Amazon. You got 30 days to return things. But yeah. Carey said the volume is still spiking, not as bad, but still spiking. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? No settings have changed in Studio B. The settings all stay the same. The equipment stays the same. Every video is done exactly the same way. So no idea. I don't know what to tell you guys. That one's got me puzzled. I'm just looking in my OBS settings to see if I'm missing something, but not, if the video wasn't spiking yesterday, it shouldn't be spiking today. I'll have to play the video back later and see if there's something on my side here that's changed. Ross says the volume here is normal. It might just be on the viewer's end. Jim says it might just be him. It's okay here. David says it did crack. The audio did crack yesterday. I didn't hear anybody telling me. Cheryl says your volume in the stream is fluctuating. I'm going quiet and loud. Luke says this volume has been steady and it sounds good. Sound is okay. It's just getting some static. That's not static. That's the air conditioner. I keep telling you guys. Let me try something. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to switch audio sources here. Drive home a point. Check, 1, 2, check, check. So right now, but this sounds vastly different. I'm not even on this microphone. I can turn this microphone off. Turn that microphone off. And as I walk around the room, my audio is going to change a lot. Just going to cycle the power on the receiving unit. Let's see. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 1, 2, check, 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 check. So right about there, I think is, I'll probably take it a little lower. Check, 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 1, check. Check, 1, 2, right about there, I think. So now I am on a boom microphone. And the boom microphone, rather than the lapel microphone, is going to pick up all the ambient noise in the room. I'm also about 12 feet away instead of about 6 inches. So do you prefer this microphone, or did the other microphone sound good? I'm not quite sure you understand the complexities of recording audio, but it's not just plugging in a microphone. There's a ton of settings that have to be adjusted. So I'm not quite sure how much I can help you with what you're complaining about, because I think it has to do with the air conditioner, but I don't know. I have to listen to it after the fact. Speeds are starting to drop. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, 315. And of course, our estimated time remaining is going to start climbing and climbing and climbing. Should I put the lapel mic back on? And maybe if there's any issues with interference, by turning the microphone receiver and transmitter off and back on again, maybe that's going to help. Get back over here first and turn the receiver back on. Batteries are at 70%, so we're not even close to having low batteries. Wrong mouse. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2, check, 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 check. Hello, test, hello, test. Check, hello, check, 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 1. Let's try right there. Let's see if that sounds any better. All right, and let's see how we're doing on our write speeds over here. We're now at 299 megabytes per second. It's going to keep dropping and dropping. Now, a mechanical hard drive won't do that. A mechanical hard drive is going to stay slow and steady, right? It's going to be slow, and it's going to stay. It's not going to vary. The SSD, on the other hand, the longer we keep writing to it and the hotter it gets, the slower it's going to go. So now, the heat is taking a toll on it. And now you see it, when it starts dropping, it'll start dropping fairly rapidly. We went from 299 to 294 to 283 just in me talking in that little area, that little bit. Okay. Does anybody have any technical questions I can answer? You have any questions about storage, about USB storage, about capacity? Do you have any questions about how price affects performance? Starshine says the sound interference seems to have stopped now. Maybe I just needed to reboot the wireless microphone pack. Been broadcasting how many years? It's never happened. So it'll be a mystery, I suppose. If the problem comes back, let me know. Pretty strange. Jim Barksdale says, Carey, I'm a retired sound engineer and I've not heard any problems with the sound. Well, I can't imagine all these people are making it up. If it was one person, but it's like multiple people doing that. So I don't know. I can't hear myself while I'm broadcasting, or it creates an infinite feedback loop. So I got to rely on people telling me, but I don't know what kind of headphones they're listening to or how sensitive their delicate ears are. I have no idea. I have to assume if multiple people are experiencing it, it's on my side, right? But I appreciate the feedback. Oh, this one's a warm one that I put back. I haven't left it in the fridge long enough. Let me grab yet another. Well, that one's almost empty. Let me go out to my garage here for a moment and see what package the mailman has left for me here. Aha. Here we go. I'll just open this up while we're waiting. Riveting video, isn't it? Just nail biting content here. It's like Christmas. Open up packages. Not a big bill. Oh, I know what this is. Okay. Boy, someone packed this like it was going to war. Be back on camera here in a second. I just want to get this opened up. Let that leaven drive just keep getting hotter and hotter. You let me know if you see any smoke. So much tape. Okay, I'm going to tell you the story about this, but let me cover up the customer's information on it. And let me just send a message to the customer, letting him know that I received it. He's like, did you get that yet? I haven't gotten it. So this viewer reaches out to me in Facebook Messenger and he says, I bought one of those Ace Magician mini PCs you reviewed, and he reinstalled Windows for some reason. I can't remember why. And then he went to wipe it and reinstall it a second time. I can't remember why. And now it won't turn on anymore. I said, wait, that doesn't make any sense. And I said, well, just send it back to Amazon. He said, well, the problem is it's been 60 days and Amazon return policy is 30 days. Okay. But he talked to the manufacturer and they said they would refund him all but $40 of the money because it's been 60 days. The manufacturer doesn't even have to do that. And he wasn't calling to complain. He was just letting me know I bought one and this is what happened. I said, oh, okay. Well, listen, I said, I'm assuming this was already done. I said, I wish you would have reached out to me earlier because I would have bought it from you. He said, oh, I haven't sent it to the manufacturer yet. I said, well, I'll tell you what, if you send me the Ace Magician computer that's not working, I'd love to look at it. And then I'll send you a mini PC here that I've reviewed. I'll send it back to you, or I'll pay you what you paid for the Ace Magician just so I can have a non-working one because I've never seen one not work. Of course, then we had the EQ12 problem, right? But he's like, you do that? I'm like, that sounds like great content, don't you think? Don't you think that's great content? Yeah. You want me to send you an Amazon gift card? You go buy another one. I'll pay. Show me the receipt. I'll pay you exactly what you paid for it. Or if you want, I'll just take one of the units I got here. I'll tell you what I've got. Find something worth about the same amount. I'll just ship it back to you. You do that for me, please, please. So he put it in the mail. He goes, did you get it yet? I'm like, I haven't gotten it. He's like, well, something's wrong. I sent it a week ago. Oh no. And then just literally the mailman brought it. So that's what's in this box right here. And we will fire this up and diagnose it in the next video. HDMI input. Oh, our time remaining is going the wrong direction. Our speed continues to drop. It's going to be a while. Get Gatorade to sponsor the show. Yeah, that'll happen. Shamim wants to know, is the equipment that you use for streaming also on your Amazon page? Did you look? Reem says I looked a little bit, yes, but I was more into the microphones. The individual microphones. So there's a couple different aspects to the microphones. If we bring up my Amazon page, let's go to window capture here. Turn off camera one so we can see. Let's go to amazon.com/shop/Carey Holzman. And now this page that has 152 items, this is equipment and tools that I use. We're going to click on that. And of course, there's 152 different things that I use that I've purchased from Amazon in some capacity here on the channel. And as we scroll through this list, in here we should see things like tripods and lights. Driver racers and tools and the suction cups and NVMe USB docking stations, spudging tools and scissors, overhead projections, overhead camera system, C-stands, wheels for the C-stands, different tools, plastic standoffs, battery chargers, the keyboard and mouse I was using, the adapters that are required on the DPA microphones, fit with the Sennheiser microphone packs, the needle nose pliers, these engineer branded specialty pliers used for removing screws. The tip of these pliers is blunt and curved so it can grab the edges of a screw. It's pretty cool. They're not cheap, but we talked about, you buy cheap, you get cheap. These are the batteries I'm using in the microphones, and these are spare case screws and thumb screws. These right here are little plastic blocks you could put into an HDMI port. Sometimes when a customer orders a gaming PC and we're putting a graphic card in there, they plug the computer monitor into the motherboard video and they say, Carey, the computer you sent me doesn't work. So I block those ports so they have no choice but to use the video card port. Those are the thumb screws. There's another spudging tool, demagnetizer. Oh, my favorite electric screwdriver in the world. This list just keeps going. The thermal infrared thermometer, I mean to say, and a timer. And I love these Italian wire cutters. These are just my favorite. There's my Milwaukee box cutter. Here's my precision pen that has lubrication for what I really haven't used this in a long time, but you can use this to repair like a bad fan. There's the kilowatt meter and the Elgato Stream Deck. More bits, microphone clips. There's the Sennheiser Pro audio packs that I use, and they come with a microphone, but that's basically a $130 lapel microphone. And these two pieces here are where all your money's really going. It's a real basic mic. I don't see the lapel mics here, but I've gone through a couple of them. And the reason they're not on here is because Amazon doesn't sell them. So those were purchased from B&H Photo. And I don't know off the top of my head what they are, but when I received them, I did make a video. I went into all the detail about it. I just not sure where that video, which video that was. Yeah, you know what? I might still have the box. See what I do to find answers for you guys? I mean, I'm not even getting paid for this. Let me go back over here and go back to camera 1. How are we doing over here? You're dropping to 205. Time remaining keeps getting longer and longer. Isn't this supposed to be a countdown timer? This is a count up timer. We've dropped by a third so far. So while we're watching that, let me see about the box for these microphones. I think I have the box here. Sanken. That sounds right. Sanken Cause 11D is what I'm using. They come in a little box like this. And they sell different models depending on what sort of device you're planning to plug the lapel microphone into. So I have to make sure I get ones that are compatible with the Sennheiser equipment that I have. Sanken. And Sanken's used by professionals in video production, which is how I learned of it. And if I go to B&H Photo, and then I type in Sanken Oz 11D. And then let me share the screen with you. The Sanken Cos 11D, and this is for Sennheiser, which is what I have, is $389. These are for broadcast, film, presentation, omnidirectional, for Sennheiser transmitters with a 3.5 millimeter, normal sensitivity level. No, I got low sensitivity ones. It's normal, reduced. That's the one I have, the reduced sensitivity. I was trying to get rid of the background noise, but it doesn't seem to make much difference. And of course, if you're going to be using Sony microphone transmitters, or there's the TASF connector, there's different color. You know, want a white one to blend in with white shirt, etc., 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 etc. It goes, and so it goes. And then there's only 8 more pages at the bottom for us to go through. Yeah, Sanken Cos 11D is what I'm using here in Studio B. Studio A, I'm using something entirely different. That I think is, oh, let's see. I know I did DPA. Let's see. DPA, Lapel. Yeah, the 4080s. So these are the 4080s that I was using and replaced them with the 11D. I think they were about $600. Now they're 740, or that's not the version for the Sennheiser. Oh, that's for sure. There's the Sennheiser. Well, the price went up on those. Oof. I've got 4 of these. I found them to be too sensitive though. So, and they're also very bulky because they have the little shock mount on them, which is why I bought them. I thought the shock mount would absorb noise, but it doesn't help when you're rubbing up against, you know, like if I'm leaning towards the table or whatever. And it's just very large. And I like them. Don't get me wrong, I like them, but these Sanken 11 Cos 11Ds are working out really well for me. Team says, thank you. You're welcome. Trevor says hello from Australia. Welcome in, Trevor. Let's go back to full screen so I can see this. Oh, we're down to 187 megabytes. Yeah, we're still going faster than a mechanical hard drive, just. Oh, don't worry, it's going to continue to get slower. Am I making my point? I'm not quite sure how long I need to do this for people to believe what I'm telling them to be true. You know, well, I don't need to copy big files like that, so it doesn't impact me. Well, then you don't need a 2 terabyte drive either then. No, I do, because I have 18 billion little teeny tiny files I copy and I want them all on one drive. There's always that one guy. Is it you? Are you the guy? I like to weed those people out. So the next video I've got to do is, of course, using the mini PC, not use it, diagnose it. I want to see if he actually has an issue or if it's an issue we can fix, just because I think it'll make for good content. So I think I will end this broadcast, and then we'll start a new broadcast up with doing this diagnostic. And it means I just need to clear the bench. And in that, I need to shut this down, put the NVMe drive that was in there back in there. And this goes into a different pile for work that'll be done someday. And then the 8 terabyte drive I'll put back in this package so that we have it available for future testing on other mini PCs. I need to put the SanDisk package back together, and the 11's got to go all back to the other room, clear the table. I'm going to hook this up offline, well, not while I'm broadcasting, and just verify the problem is there and that there shouldn't be any personal information on here, but I want to verify that before I go live. And that's assuming it even boots. And then we'll come back and we'll do another video here. So I hope you'll join me. If you have any last minute questions for me, ask now, or you'll just have to wait until another opportunity, I suppose. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and stop this test because this is just getting slower, slower, and slower. Oh, it sped back up for a little bit. 179. No, it's getting slower. I'm going to abort the test. We're done. This is ridiculous. And in all that time, how much data did it write to the drive? Let's take a quick look at the properties. It wrote 546 gigs. Kind of feel like it should have written a lot more than that in that amount of time. And then I'm going to go ahead and just delete all the files it writes. Oh, wrong button, Carey. Delete these files. And we'll close that out. That's a free piece of software. Just Google it. You can download it if you want to test the true capacity and performance of any flash drive, memory card, even a mechanical drive, really. And it's a good way to detect fraudulent drives being sold. And I'm not worried about the Windows install on this 8 terabyte drive because obviously it doesn't matter. Part of me wanted to rehide the system files because I'm seeing those ghost files on the desktop. But, it doesn't matter. Overall, right now, I can tell you with confidence that I feel like this is a good drive. And maybe I got to get to know Oyen Digital a little better, because who knows what other good stuff is lurking on their product catalog. Might be some other stuff I like. I'm big time into storage, and I promise you I have never heard of this company before. So the fact they've been around 15 years is kind of playing with my brain. We'll see how it works as we move forward, but I'm very much moving forward with confidence. I like it. At that price point, I like it a lot. So thank you for watching. Thanks for contributing and participating in the show. And if all goes well, I'll have another live broadcast here shortly, and hope you'll come back and join me then. Thank you again to all my friends in blue and in green, all my members. For those of you new here, stick around, be nice, be kind. That's the only thing I require. And I'll turn you blue. I'll be happy to keep adding to this amazing community we have with other kind individuals. Until next time, bye for now.